Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Here
There's
we
the
are.
studio
No,
background. Okay.
this
Yeah.
is smooth. This is how it's gonna go. I like this. It goes. I
Okay.
think it goes really, really well.
Welcome everyone to the Geeky Geezers, or just Geeky Geezers, as Selena Kyle and Batman Returns would say. Right? Is it Batman or the Batman?
Or the Batman, which is of course the funny little reference to the comics, because there has been that question in the comics.
And then he doesn't even answer. He doesn't answer when she asks.
Exactly right.
He just kind of walks off. And I love that part.
Exactly.
The week of February 23rd. Happy Sunday to everybody.
Yep.
I had chicken fajitas for lunch. I went to a Mexican restaurant, so that was nice. Did you like fajitas?
I really do. I always seem to burn myself on the hot plate though. So.
They're very careful. They put mitts on them down here, and they put and they put it like in a ceramic. They're trying to warn you, please don't touch the plate. It's sizzling, But
and see, I've had them enough times to know that I got to be careful, but I'm dumb.
Yes. Well, I'm gonna say hi to the chat. I see some familiar names. Oh my goodness, where do I even begin? Jesse Green, were you the first? Okay, welcome.
Might have been.
Have a fun show. Here's everyone's favorite. What is it? The 10-word reviewer, Big Al. Welcome.
Absolutely welcome, Big Al.
Let me see, Chris P. Welcome. Always good to see you. Good evening, gents. Have a great stream. And let's see here. Mark Malikoff, welcome. We got a couple.
See you. Yeah. We've got a couple of articles from him tonight.
You got Klingons. Okay. Rosefire, welcome. Great to see you again. Let me see here, though. What do we got here? Deep Penzak, I already talked to him. Bring on those geeky geezers.
But it doesn't hurt to say hi.
Get this party started.
Let's get it started.
It's like a funeral tonight, dude. We're going to get into it. I guess it could be an Irish funeral, right? But Curtis Selby, welcome. Netter of Netters Network, thank you for the hi, sweetie. I really appreciate it. Okay.
Hi, sweetie.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you ever see those? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, she got a good voice, doesn't she?
Yes, it was like a spirit out of nowhere. That's what it reminded me of.
Right.
Okay. Last call with Troy Pacelli. Welcome. Always good to see you in the chat. And next to me. Okay. Let's see here though. Rosefire, been away for a while. It's been a rough time. My grandmother passed away recently, so I've been spending time with the family. She was almost 90. A beloved companion, loving friend to so many people. I'm so sorry, Rosefire, you had to go through that. It sounds like she was loved though, so that's good. But yeah, it's hard losing a loved one. I know the feeling. Deleted scenes, welcome. I guess we've all lost a grandmother at this point, haven't we?
Yep.
To the grandmothers out there.
Absolutely.
Horizon Talker, welcome. That's where I get my red hair from in real life, is from my grandmother.
Yep, that's the dominant hair color for me was brown, but you'd see red come through in my beard. And my grandmother told me that it was actually her grandmother who had red hair. So it does come from that side of the family. Yeah.
Very interesting. Hi everybody. Rest in peace, James Bond. This has been an ongoing thing, and I mentioned this because Troy saw me on Midnight's Edge earlier on Friday.
Yep.
And one of the points I tried making is, I think sometimes we say this franchise is dead, this franchise is dead. And I think with franchises where it took multiple creators to bring it about, like let's say a comic book or even something like Star Wars. I know George Lucas was kind of the creator, but let's be blunt, there were a lot of creative minds surrounding Star Wars when it came out.
That's true.
But James Bond is the creation of one man, that's Ian Fleming. Maybe two if you count that guy who wrote Thunderball with. In my opinion, James Bond will always be a literary character. He will always live on in those books, much the same way Sherlock Holmes will always exist because of Conan Doyle's original stories and also other literary characters that we've grown up around. Yeah.
A very important point. Like when you think Sherlock Holmes, or you think the like Frankenstein and those monsters and stuff like that, and so many other things that we consider franchises now, they're based on literature that is falling into public domain.
Yes.
So anyone can pick them up and run with them, but nobody can own them now. And eventually that's going to happen to James Bond. But as long as you own those books, and you don't pick up some edition that they've subsequently edited, those stories will be kept alive. And remember, the earliest publications of them, the ones that don't get edited, will fall into the public domain first. So that's something to consider.
Yes. Read unedited James Bond, unless it was edited by Ian Fleming himself, but because believe it or not, there were changes in the Bond novels depending on what country it was in. But usually Ian Fleming would approve the changes.
I would argue that in that case, you want to read any version that exists because it's the differences that are interesting.
Here's the interesting thing is the latest controversy around some of those Bond novels about a certain racial slur that was used in one of them. I don't believe that was in the American version. That might have been in the British version. I think in the British version they used a different term, which was more acceptable, because probably even at the time when they came out in the United States, it was like, I can't really use that word over here.
Well, and that what's really funny is even when you have countries that speak the same language, right? Whether it's let's say Australia, Britain, United States, Canada, we all speak English, but our slang is different. And a word that might mean one thing here means something else over there and might be offensive. And you've got to consider, just like you do when you're translating from one language to another, you've got to consider when you're translating dialects too. What is it you're trying to convey? Are you trying to say something nasty? In which case, well, that's not really nasty in this country, so maybe we need to change the word to make it something a little bit more offensive. Or, no, this was never meant to be offensive. I don't want to say it in an offensive way in this country. Let's tone that down. That's translation. That's not editorialization,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If you, for example, if you write some dialogue here in the United States and you say something about, somebody's fanny, well, that means something very different in the UK, and it's going to convey a very different thing than you intend.
Well, I apologize to any listeners in our UK audience, if we have a UK audience. I'm just kidding.
I think any of our audience that knows what I'm talking about understands the context that I mean and would not be automatically
I'm
offended.
Just messing with you. Horizon Talker, welcome. Let's see. Depensac, Rosefire, Crispy. Let me scroll down because we got to get this party started, right? Geek Fry, welcome. So. Well, what's up, my fellow old farts? I think fart is still in the word. I'm sorry, I'm feeling that way these days. I'm thinking. Remember when you used to be able to buy your books and you'd own them? And, well, more on that later tonight for those ebook
when you
readers.
Buy your books, just make sure you own a physical copy.
I have to tell you something. I'm not telling anyone to do this because, of course, this would be illegal. But theoretically, if there is a PDF of a book, you could always download the PDF, get yourself a cheap printer, and maybe make a copy. If you were a bad person, I don't suggest anybody do that. Get a hole puncher and just,
It actually seems kind of wasteful to physically print a copy. If you have a digital copy of it and you can save it to CD-ROM or, whatever, that's probably good enough.
I like to read books on paper. I'm weird that way. Or I listen to them. I also do audiobooks. Space Fraggle, welcome. And let me get through. And okay. Well, that's it.
Well, that was a great show. Thanks, everyone, for stopping by.
I'm telling you, I feel bad for England this week with the two stories we have to now. Now, to be fair, one of the stories is announcements. The other story is a rumor. I think it's a credible rumor. That's why I'm talking about it tonight. But we're going to get into both of them tonight. But before we do that, okay.
You and I have kind of gone back and forth on this is a rumor. Should we talk about it? Because we would really rather report on actual confirmed news. But I do feel like sometimes talking about rumor, as long as you understand that it's a rumor, is worthwhile, because I do believe that a lot of these rumors are, in quotes, leaked, close quotes, for the purpose of gauging people's reactions. So I think we should, participate and give our reactions.
Yes. So we're going to talk about the good old days.
Let's talk about the good old days. This was a very cool thing if you were a comic book fan growing up in we were just talking about Gen X, right? The 70s,
yes.
The 80s, the 90s.
On Friday, yes.
Mm-hmm. Right into the early aughts. There have been a lot of crossovers, more than you might expect, between DC Comics and Marvel, the two big rival comic book companies. And so the first time you see this cover, this is the classic first appearance of Superman and Spider-Man together in one comic. Now, our parents, that would go out and buy us the comics or would buy us the toys, didn't know the difference. They assumed that these characters were in the same universe, but we knew the difference between Marvel and DC.
It's ridiculous because, like, I think my mom, when she was watching the recent MCU movies, like in Spider-Man, so she didn't know that Spider-Man was part of that universe. And I was like, yes, he is.
Well, and it's like, that's kind of fair, because if you only know it from movies, there has been such a separation of Marvel characters that DC never had because of rights issues. We've talked about that on previous things. But oh my gosh, how incredible is it? How do you have two companies that are literally rivals coming together and doing a joint venture like this? It's amazing, and it turned out to be very popular for both sides, especially in the 70s, when who was it who had the action figure rights for both Marvel and DC at the time? That was E.G.O. So you could actually have Superman and Spider-Man interacting in your playtime,
Yes, exactly. And kids would do that. Of course they would.
Yes.
And look at this.
Yeah.
Look at this. Oh man, this is incredible. Looking at this, just this picture of them shaking hands.
This is a great example of the cover says Superman versus Spider-Man. And this was a recurring theme. And this is something that we kind of referred back to when the Snyderverse was doing the whole Superman versus Batman thing. It was like, do we really know they're going to be fighting, or is this going to be like in the comics where it's this versus that? And maybe you have two characters that have never met before. They don't know what to make of each other. They start out a little antagonistic, and then they realize, oh, we're both heroes. We should team up, and that's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you have did you see that? I don't know if you can read the little blurb there, but he's like, "Oh, I never want to shake this guy's hand again because, like, it'll crush my hand."
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Spider-Man's strong, but he's not Superman strong, right?
Exactly. But Superman probably there might be some subtext here, because Superman is used to shaking the hand of normal people, and he realized Spider-Man's a lot stronger than the average person, so maybe he just went a little bit tighter than he usually would.
I mean, this is fascinating though, because this is this, of course, the reason they have to join forces is because two of their supervillains join forces, right? And
right.
I think this was
Lex
when
Luthor
basically Lex Luthor and Dr. Octopus decide, let's work together.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And I mean, you probably read more Spider-Man in the 70s than I did. Was Doc Ock a major player in the 1970s?
Yes, he
Spider-Man
absolutely
comics?
was.
Yeah.
He's definitely a major one going all the way back. He's one of the classics. Yeah.
It's probably why they made him the heavy in Spider-Man 2, because he
interestingly never got a E.G.O action figure. A lot of people have done customs of him, but he never got a E.G.O back in the day.
You know what he did get? He got a Burger King kids meal toy.
He also got, when they went to the 3 3/4 inch, well, it was a little bit bigger for the, it was DC Superpowers and the Marvel Secret Wars figures. In the Secret Wars, he finally got himself an action figure. Yeah.
Rosefire, have a little patience. We'll get there.
Oh yeah, we're getting there. I'm gonna touch on all of them for you.
I have a question. So you have a list here going of lists.
Yes,
I have a
I
question.
do.
They do a Captain America Wonder Woman crossover. That makes the most sense to me.
Well,
Because they're both
here's
the
the
World War
thing.
II era heroes.
They did a full-on Marvel versus DC, where it was like all the heroes versus all the heroes. We'll touch on that when we get there, but yes. And in fact, it culminates in a plot line where Wonder Woman picks up the hammer of Thor and captures the lightning of Shazam.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. This is one of the most justified cases of fighting heroes crossover because Superman assumes the stuff he reads in the Daily Bugle was true. And of course, him being a reporter, he would be trusting another news outlet, right?
Yeah. If you'd like, I have a synopsis here that I'm not going to do this for every one, but for this first classic one, I could give you the full-on synopsis of this. Is it worth it? Do you want me to do it?
Give me the full-on synopsis. Connie Cleary, welcome. And also DJ Play Nice. We'll all play nice. We'll try to. Okay.
So this was entitled the Battle of the Century, right? Superman and Spider-Man meet for the first time and must work together to prevent Lex Luthor and Dr. Octopus's nefarious plan for world domination. In Metropolis, Superman has an encounter with a stories tall robot controlled by Lex Luthor. After a short battle, Lex and his robot steal a small programming circuit from Star Laboratories and then escape. After thinking about the fight with Lex, Superman traces the path of the robot to the Metropolis Bay. After locating and entering Lex Luthor's underwater lab, Superman and Lex battle again. While Superman is disabled by a red sun-based laser blast to his eyes, Lex places a stolen programming circuit in a tube, which is then transported to a hidden location. After he recovers, Superman captures Lex Luthor and has him imprisoned. In New York City, Spider-Man comes across a gang working for Dr. Octopus, burglarizing the Metropolitan Museum. After the ground crew is beaten, Dr. Octopus steps in to fight Spider-Man. After a considerable fight between the two, Spider-Man is knocked out by a strike from the flying octopus. Spider-Man and Octopus have a second encounter when Spider senses detect trouble from a passing blimp. After falling through the blimp's false surface, Spider-Man discovers the flying octopus inside. After the fight, an unconscious Dr. Octopus is taken to the custody of police. The villains of these two encounters meet when Lex Luthor and Doc Ock wind up in prison in Deming, New Mexico. The two escape the prison after Lex puts his plan into action. The heroes from those two encounters cross paths at the World News Conference. Clark Kent, Lois Lane, Peter Parker, Mary Jane, and their co-workers all attend the conference.
Makes sense.
That's how you get them all together, right? Yeah. It is during a discussion between Lois and Peter Parker that a fake Superman shows up and abducts Lois and Mary Jane, of course. Both Peter and the real Clark Kent are surprised by the abduction and both change into their hero identities. The heroes confront one another, and Spider-Man, after receiving a red sun radiation blast from the hidden Lex Luthor, is able to knock Superman around with very little effort. Even though Spider-Man realizes he's stronger and he used than he used to be, he decides his success is due to Superman's overrated reputation. After the radiation wears off and Spider-Man is unable to do anything more than injure himself in his attempt to subdue Superman, the two heroes speak and realize they've been tricked. The heroes track the villains first to a warehouse, then to a village near Mount Kilimanjaro, and finally to a satellite that was used by the Injustice Gang. It is from this satellite that Luthor takes over ComLab and has an onboard high-intensity laser probe by using star programming elements he's stolen. Both heroes are beaten and brought aboard the satellite by Lex and Doc Ock. Luthor reveals he wants to set off a chain reaction weather system as a way to extort $10 billion from the U.S. government. After a brawl between the four, Superman leaves to battle the tidal wave created by Luthor, while Spider-Man remains on the satellite to fight the two villains. After Ock understands Luthor's plan will destroy the planet, he destroys a control panel. With his use of super speed, Superman is able to counter the energy of the tidal wave and prevents it from destroying the coastline. Each hero carries off his villain to prison. And that was the big crossover where neither one is shown to be specifically a winner in their battle. In fact, their battle was a contrivance, and they end up working together to stop their respective villains.
How incredible would it be if they actually did this as a movie or even an animated movie and they just had this crossover?
I think it would work great as an animated one. I think it would be
too complicated in live action.
Using as live action because we already have multiple versions of Spider-Man, multiple versions of Superman in live action. So, yeah.
I would do it as an animated movie. And frankly, Disney, Warner Brothers, you worked together before when you did Who Framed Roger Rabbit. There's no reason you couldn't work together again to make something like this happen. It might bring about some goodwill toward both of your respected superhero series that are not necessarily in the best shape right now. But I did want to bring up, though, apparently they met again. Is this true?
Yes, they did.
So the next one
was, let me see.
Or was that later? I don't know.
No, that's much later.
Okay.
It was a previous one. It was called, what was it? The Heroes and the Holocaust. Superman and Spider-Man versus Dr. Doom and the Parasite. This was from July of 1981.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But the next one, I think, is one that you already have a slide for.
So, look, we have the two. We have the Superman in the black suit and also the Spider-Man in the black suit.
Yeah, that one was much later, though.
Very indicative
of course, after the death of Superman. We've got a lot before then, though.
He wore the black outfit for a while after he came back, didn't he?
Until he got repowered. People don't realize he was underpowered at that time. He hadn't gotten all of his solar energy back yet.
It took. I know that takes time. Like, even when he was, let's be honest, even when he was growing up in Smallville, he didn't have all his powers yet. Remember that?
That's right. That's exactly right.
But there have been other crossovers. This, of course, was, look at this, Incredible Hulk versus Batman. Look at that.
Yeah.
Huh?
So this one was called The Monster and the Madman from September of 1981. I did not own this one, but I do remember this cover.
Look at that, though. I see a Joker in the mix there in the background.
Yep.
I think the Joker is convincing the Hulk to kill Batman, right?
It's very difficult for me to believe that Batman could kick Hulk in the solar plexus and knock him out, but
I had special gamma reverberating boots. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
The Hulk.
This one is kind of hard to believe. Yeah.
The Hulk is technically stronger than Superman. The only reason Superman might win in a fight is because he can maybe outsmart the Hulk. But
if we assume, I've always assumed, and I don't know this to be true or not, but I've always imagined that Superman and Thor are probably very close on the strength level. And there was a what if comic called What If the Hulk Went Berserk that pitted Thor against Hulk, and Hulk was not backing down, and he was getting stronger and stronger. Yep. And Thor realized that if this went much longer, he would not be able to stop the Hulk. And it gets very, very grim, the ending of that one. But a lot of the what ifs had dark endings. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to read that. That might be kind of dark.
There were some really rough ones, but they were
DC's
still
done that
really,
stuff
really
too.
good ones.
Flashpoint comes to mind. Anyway, look at that though. Batman versus the Monster and the Madman. As you said, there's the Joker
That's
in
the
the
one I was just
background.
saying. Yeah.
Was there a Hulk villain also in this comic, or is it just the Joker? I see somebody in the background there.
I don't actually remember because again, I didn't read this one, but yeah, this is the inside cover page. Yeah.
Okay.
Of that one that you were just showing. Yeah.
But yeah, very cool. Let's move on to this one. Threw me for a loop. Whoa.
Yeah.
X-Men versus the new Teen Titans.
Yes.
Look who's there, Darkseid and Dark
I do
Phoenix.
want to point out that there was actually 20 of these crossovers. So I'm kind of scrolling through real quick to see if I can find which one that is. It was Darkseid. That one was Darkseid and Galactus. I may have actually missed this one.
Well, I know with this, maybe Galactus shows up. I know that it's the Dark Phoenix. He's summoning the Dark Phoenix. But look at this. You got... I would imagine the new Teen Titans and the X-Men would get along. Yeah. Because they're sort of similar style, like teenage, young adult superheroes, right? A lot of them.
Wait a minute. Mm-hmm. Is this, did you say X-Men Teen Titans? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Then this one was the one from August of 1982.
Yeah.
This was the new Teen Titans before they started doing the Tales of the Teen Titans. In other words, when Robin was still Robin and not Nightwing yet.
Yeah, so let's see here. I think he says, who summons the Dark Phoenix? Darkseid. You know, it's like...
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
Because that's Jean Grey's evil alter ego, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, very dangerous character in the Marvel Comics. Look at that, though. You see Robin shaking Cyclops' hand. Do you see that?
Right.
And,
exactly.
What's her name? Shaking Storm.
That's
Starfire. Shaking Storm, yeah. And then you have Raven.
Coriander was her name.
Oh, look, that's Raven and Wolverine. See? On the bottom there. Neat.
And he's just kind of, yeah.
Let me see if I can go in. And then we have Batman, Captain America. What? This is the last one I have here, but you can also rattle off the ones I missed. But
so this one is from, you jumped ahead. This is from
Much
February
later.
of 1997. Wow. And this one actually is I actually love the artwork from this. Of course, this was John Byrne, who in the Bronze Age was the one who rebooted Superman After Christ's Son, Infinite Earths. He had a great span on, he worked for both Marvel and DC, so it was not a big surprise that he, had free reign on this one.
Cool.
I don't know much about the setting, but man, since this is a golden age symbol on Batman's chest, it implies that this might be set in the World War II era.
Oh, maybe. And Batman was around in World War II, if we go by the comics, right?
If you go by the golden age, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, really cool. And we forget those World War II comics were a big help to the troops. They would read them while on the battlefront back in the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let me see though. But look at this. You got Robin there with Batman, and I guess is that Bucky Barnes with
Bucky Barnes? Exactly.
Yes,
exactly right.
I don't know. I think Bucky Barnes making a point. I think I got the better guy to be a sidekick to her. You make some comment. I don't know. Like you wouldn't want to be Batman's sidekick or something. I don't know why, but
and anybody who grew up with these characters kind of made the correlation: Batman and Robin and Cap and Bucky.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a lot of them had sidekicks. The funniest thing on the Teen Titans cartoon show was that I think Robin in one issue, like there's another Titans group trying to form, is it Titans East? And Robin meets there's just one episode where Robin meets Speedy.
And
looking into a mirror. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Well, I have these guys. Well, my arrows do this, and they're very much like like they're the counterpoints to each other. It was funny. But
absolutely.
Robin kickstarted the sidekick archetype. Well, here's the interesting thing. I think it was like, wouldn't it be cool? Oh, what is this? Oh, here's a favor for you. Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. So the Clue channel, real quick, he is celebrating 4 months as a member. Thank you so much. He says salute, Troy and Boomer, and Invisible Netter. Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much, Nate, for $10 super chat. He says, okay, here's a flavor for you and Boomer. Yeah, there you go. Thanks so much, my friend.
Well, I hope it does sync bomb. Have I missed any other notable crossovers though?
Yes, you have.
Okay. Well, yes.
And in fact, some of them are a bit of a repeat. So Batman and Punisher from 1994. This was not the Bruce Wayne Batman. This was the James Paul Valley Batman. This was shortly after Batman got his back broken by Bane.
Oh, the one who was the Azrael Batman.
Exactly.
Well, that makes perfect sense with the Punisher.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then it was immediately followed up in 94 with Punisher versus Batman, and it was the Bruce Wayne Batman. I'm just kind of go through these. I don't know the stories very well. There was one from 95, Darkseid versus Galactus, The Hunger. I can only imagine. It was by John Byrne again. But these are all Jack Kirby characters. Jack Kirby created the Galactus and all the Immortals and whatnot from Marvel. And then he came over and did Darkseid and the New Gods and all of that.
Yes. That's why I often feel that, what was it? Thanos is almost Darkseid's counterpart, I always think, in the Marvel.
Exactly right. And real quick, Curtis Selby is saying, that's not the one I was looking for. He's saying,
celebrate 8 months.
He's going back and forth, but yeah, he dropped a hail and well met 8-month member Curtis Selby. I see. I've fallen behind in the chat. That's why
I can do it. Hold on there.
No worries.
There we go.
And let me then in September of 95 we get Spider-Man and Batman. I actually have that comic in my collection, but I don't remember having read it. So there you go. Green Lantern, Silver Surfer, Unholy Alliance from February of 1996. And this was the Kyle Rayner Green Lantern.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Now, quick pause here for one that I've talked about many times. There was in 1996, from February to May of 96, a 4-issue miniseries, DC versus Marvel. And there were two entities called the Brothers. They were some sort of, Q-like beings in both universes. Oh. And they had this rivalry. Think of it as, say Q and Q from the alternate universe or whatever. And they were always trying to one-up each other, and they decided to pit the heroes of their own universe. It was kind of riffing on Marvel's Beyonder, the Secret Wars storyline. And it forced these characters to fight, and it would it had the shtick of was this the one where you got to vote on who won in the battles? Maybe not. I don't remember, but I do remember that this is the one, like I said, where there's a fight between Thor and again, these heroes do not want to be fighting each other, but they kind of have no choice because they're literally fighting for the survival of their universe, or at least this is what they've been told. And so they measure up pretty evenly. So you've got Batman versus Captain America. You've got Superman versus Hulk. You've got Captain Marvel versus Thor. Yes. And what's really interesting is there's this one bit where they're fighting, and Thor traps Captain Marvel underneath, I think it was like a Ferris wheel or something. And he puts Mjolnir down on the girder so he can't lift it. So he goes, well, I may not be able to lift it, but maybe, I have the wisdom of Solomon. It's not always strength that gets you out of a situation like this. Shazam! And he gets hit by the lightning and he turns into Billy Batson and he's able to scurry out from under. And Thor goes, oh, your power comes from lightning. I know a thing or two about lightning. He picks up Mjolnir. And when Billy Batson goes, Shazam again, he intercepts the lightning, but it blasts Mjolnir out of his hand, where it goes and it lands at Wonder Woman's feet, who is in the midst of fighting Storm. And she picks it up because she just needs a weapon. And then whammo, she's like Wonder Woman Thor, like like Beta Ray Bill or whatever, and it's
she's worthy to pick it up.
Because she was worthy to pick it up. And she's like, if I remember correctly, it was like she was about to beat Storm and she's like, this isn't right. There's something wrong here. And I don't really remember how it resolved, but I did want to touch on that. This is also where the great joke, Jubilee is I think she's with Rogue in the X Mansion. And Robin falls out of the sky and lands in her bed. And if you remember, Jubilee had an outfit that was red and yellow and black, just like Robin's at the time. And Rogue says, Jube, did you order a boy? And she's like, no, but I like his fashion sense. So that was that one. The next one was something called All Access from 96 to 97. It was a 4-issue miniseries. I see Batman and Robin and Daredevil and Hulk on the cover. I don't really know what that's all about, but it looks like it was a thing too. In 96, Silver Surfer and Superman. In 97, Daredevil and Batman.
I can see that.
Two-Face, and I don't know who the other villain is on that one.
Bullseye, maybe?
Another Spider-Man Batman in October of 97. Unlimited Access. This was a little different. This was, how many issues? It was a 4-issue miniseries that instead of having the heroes meeting, it amalgamated them. So you had the Superman Blue it was at the time when Superman was split into Superman Red, Superman Blue. So it was Superman Blue, who was the electricity Superman, combined with Thor. You had Captain Marvel combined with Captain America. Looks like Robin and Angel, I think. I don't know. It's hard for me to tell, but these were amalgamated characters. Superman the Fantastic Four in 1999. Incredible Hulk versus Superman in 1999. Batman Daredevil in 2000. And Justice League Avengers in 2004, and I believe that was the last one. And thank you again, Nate. He says I have a fever and the darn autocorrect. Oh, I said Fiverr, and okay, I get you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Geek Fly.
So there was a 4-issue miniseries of Justice League meets the Avengers, and that was in 2004. That was art by George Perez, rest his soul, and I think that was the last time we had a crossover of the two.
Well, we may have some news. Maybe another crossover's coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that'll bookend our little stream here, unless I spoiled it.
Real quick, there was one other, and I can't remember which one of them it was, where it was a multi-series, and you got to vote on who won between the two comics. And there was one. It was the most obvious one: Aquaman versus Namor. and they were battling pretty much to a standstill. But it was implied that Namor was actually stronger, and he had kind of physically beaten Arthur, and he's standing over him and gloating. And he's going, I am the true, ruler of Atlantis. Just submit, I'll make it quick for you, blah, 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 this and that. And this goes over a couple panels, and a shadow's come over him. And suddenly he looks up. The next scene you see, there's a blue whale sitting on top of him, because Arthur called a blue whale to help him out.
Of course.
And that's how Arthur won against Namor.
Hey, whatever it takes, man.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we're not even talking about all the crossovers with other media. Like somebody earlier had mentioned the Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman versus Predator. There's also a Batman Judge Dredd crossover. Ooh, and they did not get along, Batman and Judge Dredd, because Judge Dredd, Batman is about justice. Judge Dredd is about the law.
Yeah.
And those are not the same thing.
Exactly.
They had to get along, though, because apparently Judge Death and the Scarecrow joined forces. Because Judge Death's big thing is the crime is life, the punishment is death. So he just kills anything living. But when he goes to the Scarecrow sprays the fear gas on him, and Judge Death sees like cute bunnies and flowers all around him. He's like, no! He's like, what would Judge Death be afraid of? And
that's funny.
But yeah, the Batman versus Teenage Ninja Turtles, that was made into an animated feature, and it was kind of in the original comic. I believe it was like a cross-universe crossover where they cross universes. Whereas I think in the animated movie they just set it up like New York and Gotham, they're in the same universe. Like the Gotham of Batman, the New York of the Teenage Ninja Turtles, they're in the same universe. Kind of like the Spider-Man Superman crossover. So they didn't complicate it with a universe crossover. But it was that was a lot of fun, because of course what's happening is a bunch of ninjas are stealing scientific equipment, and then when the Teenage Ninja Turtles show up to investigate the Foot Clan, Batman thinks, oh, these must be the ninjas that have been stealing the scientific equipment, right? From like Star Labs and things, not realizing it's the Foot Clan. So that's how or at least that's how the confusion starts, I think. And you get to see a wonderful fight between Batman and the Shredder at the beginning of it, and the Shredder beats him in the first fight.
There was one note that I wanted to make about these DC Marvel crossovers. While the location of the adventures was unstated, the official Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover index from March of 1986 and the official Crisis on Infinite Earth index from July of 86 would formally call the reality where the DC and Marvel characters coexisted as Crossover Earth. Later, Marvel would assign the reality the name Earth 7642.
Okay. Because we have to put a pin on everything. Exactly. But it's just fun. It's wonderful what ifs if these heroes met each other, how they would react. And I think I think too that original Spider-Man Superman comic is legendary. I think it's a very it's one of the great team ups. But
absolutely.
All right. And now I guess that's it for that.
Let's go on with the show.
Unfortunately, we have to start out tonight with a celebrity passing. So
now it's time for me to start pulling up the notes, right? I
decided to pick. I believe that's the character he played on Deadwood. Did you ever watch Deadwood?
I have not. No.
Okay, it was HBO's big Western series. But Peter Jason, Deadwood and Prince of Darkness character actor dies at 80.
Yeah.
And this is just
sorry.
That's okay.
I must have done it twice.
That's all right. I'll go and read it from the article. Peter Jason, a character actor known for his roles in Deadwood and 48 Hours and Prince of Darkness, along with his many television appearances, died Thursday in his West Hollywood home. He was 80. Jason's death was confirmed by a rep from Tribesman Pictures, with the cause of death being cancer. On X, Halloween director John Carpenter shared a tribute to the actor, writing that he was a dear friend and I'll miss him terribly. Matthew Asner, son of the late Edward Asner, also shared a tribute. My dear, dear friend, the brightest light, most generous soul, and gregarious of men, the supremely talented and kind Peter Jason has left the set. Matthew Asner wrote on Facebook, I'm heartbroken. My dear friend and my father's best friend, Peter Jason, passed away today. What a loss. He was truly one of the sweetest people on the planet. My heart goes out to his wife and daughter. Peter, I hope you and my dad are up there laughing your asses off. In his most notable roles, Jason played Con Stapleton in Deadwood for 26 episodes from 2004 to 2006. Dr. Paul Leahy in Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. That's a classic.
Yep.
I remember Alice Cooper in that movie.
I do too.
And the redneck bartender in 48 Hours alongside Eddie Murphy, Nick Nolte, Frank McRae, and James Remar. And also Ned O'Toole's in that. Jason got his film debut in Howard Hawks' Western Rio Lobo with John Wayne. He went on to star in Impulse 1984, Brewster's Millions. I remember Brewster's Millions. Oh, yeah,
Brewster's Millions, yeah, which was a remake, I believe.
Yeah, it's a great remake, though. I think it is a classic movie. They Live in 1988, Alien Nation 1988. Oh, he's in Alien Nation. Look at that. Working closely with directors Frank Marshall, Walter Hill, and Carpenter. Most recently, he was cast by the Coen brothers in Hail Caesar 2016 and 2019, reprised his role as Con Stapleton in Deadwood the movie. He was also a guest star on many television shows, including Gunsmoke, Murder, She Wrote, Golden Girls, Steven Spielberg's Amazing Stories, and Mad Men. Jason is survived by his wife, Eileen Rosalie, and 2 children, Robin and Andrew. That's a good career, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I do remember Prince of Darkness, and I did watch all of Mad Men. You ever watch Mad Men?
I have not, but it's definitely on my list because it just seems like it would be totally in my wheelhouse.
Some of the writers of The Sopranos worked on Mad Men. I found the characters of Mad Men more despicable than the gangsters on The Sopranos.
That's funny.
What does that say about them? But that was a fascinating show. But I used to watch it. It's all about the ad agencies in the 1960s.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a good show. Roger Sterling was my favorite character because he was flawed, but he sort of was upfront about his own flaws. Do you understand? So that made him
absolutely
respect him more.
It goes a long way when you. I mean, just watch the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. It's really hard to beat up on Johnny Depp about his, substance abuse and whatnot when he is the one who is bringing it up and talking about it. It's like he takes ownership of it.
Yes. Oh, Sterling rocks. Actually, Roger Sterling played the adult. Who was Tony Stark's dad? Roger Stark?
No. What was it?
That's Roger Sterling. What was Tony Stark's dad's name?
Oh, I'm drawing a blank, but I know someone in the chat's going to say it.
Anyway, he played his dad, but he played the adult version of the dad, like when they would show him with like the younger Robert Downey Jr. But I like Swearingen more than all of them. Oh yeah, Swearingen was played by the actor who played Lovejoy. Remember the PBS?
Howard Stark.
Howard Stark. That's right. What I'm mistaken. Mm-hmm. Probably in no short. I wonder if that was a slight reference to Howard Hughes. If you think about
it. Probably.
All right. And okay.
So what's important here is as I list these articles, I put the date that the article was published because it's actually important. We have them coming up, day by day here. It's kind of weird.
I was originally only going to go with one of these, but for the heck of it, I'll just do both. Though I only have the image for one of the articles, but I'm going to do both of them. All right.
That's fine.
Okay, so the first one, new lawsuit challenges the owners of James Bond for the use of characters' name and 007. The sprawling James Bond franchise has been hit with a new lawsuit since the release of No Time to Die marked the end of Daniel Craig's 15-year run as the titular secret agent. The future of the British espionage franchise has been a major question for its long-running fan base. With the upcoming Bond 26 from Amazon, MGM Studios offers a promising continuation. James Bond Legacy faces a legal shakeup that takes aim at the owners, Dan, Jack, and Eon of the iconic spy universe. I'm not sure about Dan, Jack, but Eon Productions, that's the one that the Broccoli family was running. According to The Guardian, owners of the James Bond franchise are facing a copyright lawsuit barring the use of the titular character and codename 007. A Dubai-based property developer, Joseph Kleindienst, has filed lawsuits in the UK and EU challenging the James Bond trademark, arguing that Dan, Jack, and Eon have not commercially exploited across various goods and services for over 5 years. The claims target multiple versions of Bond's name, including James Bond 007 and Bond James Bond. The legal battle over James Bond trademark is a significant challenge for the franchise longtime guardians. Under UK and EU trademark laws, if a name is not actively used for commercial purposes, it can be changed. Joseph Kleindienst claims allege that James Bond branding has not been commercially exploited in various areas, including digital media, models of vehicles, and electronic publishing. The name of the iconic spy, played by a variety of actors including Craig, Sean Connery, George Lazenby, Pierce Brosnan, Timothy Dalton, and David Niven in 25 Bond movies, is being contested across various iterations: James Bond Special Agent 007, James Bond 007, James Bond World of Espionage, and the famous Bond, James Bond. From Moonraker cashing in on the Star Wars hype to Casino Royale borrowing Bourne's tone, plenty of James Bond movies were influenced by other films. The James Bond franchise is already at a crossroads as producers search for Daniel Craig's successor as Bond 26 nears. Aaron Taylor Johnson has been widely rumored as the forerunner, with past Bond actors offering their support. Other names frequently tied to the role include Henry Cavill, Aaron Taylor Johnson, you just mentioned that, Paul Mescal, Idris Elba, and Tom Harder. Former Bond director Martin Campbell said the successor should be in their 30s in order to span at least 5 movies. So here's that actually makes sense. I'll agree with that. And to be fair, that's the age of the character when he starts out in the books too. He's in his 30s. I did want to bring up something. When I was growing up, Mr. Boomer here.
Yeah.
Bond wasn't just movies. Bond had a lot of ties to video games. And I don't know what's been going on in that area. I heard rumor back that there is apparently a James Bond game being worked on about his origin story. And I don't know if this was going to be an open world game and it's good, but it's another thing that's been kind of dead in the water. They can't really do anything else with the Daniel Craig era Bond character because of how that movie ended. If it had just ended with him, just doing his usual bit and going on to do other missions, they probably could have. I'm going to read from the next article too. The property developer who wants Bond.
You just cut out on us for a second there, Boomer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I'm sorry about that. No, I'm just saying that I don't, with them ending the last Bond with the way they did, they can't really use Craig's likeness in media now because it doesn't work.
Right.
This is why you don't kill off your characters. It's not smart. It makes merchandising hard, among other things. But I'm going to go ahead and read from the next article. How's that sound?
Okay. And I do apologize about the fact that Evie Muck seems to take the colon and the first slash and turn it into an emoji. And so you will not be able to directly link from what I'm putting.
Is that an alien face?
No, yes. It's well, I guess it comes out that way. It's supposed to be a like half frown because it's the colon and the slash.
I guess we could always go back to pasting them in YouTube. But I don't know. That might be tricky. Anyway, that's so weird. Property developer who wants James Bond ownership. This was the next article. I'll read a little bit from this too because these are short. The businessman challenge.
Real quick, let me make one comment about this. You'll notice a trend here, folks, that this is another thing where rights and lawsuits are hampering the franchise. We've seen this happen with Superman. We've seen this happen with so many other things. And that's a whole side issue, completely unrelated to people who have, let's just say, political machinations that they want to insert into the stories.
Yeah, perhaps, yes. I mean, well, here's the thing, too, with James Bond. You can do things with James Bond. You could make video games featuring him. You could have made an maybe not a children's animated series, but, you can do...
I wouldn't be so sure. They've done Rambo. They've done The Toxic Avenger. They've done all kinds of.
I know they had a James Bond Jr. show that apparently Michael French did not want to discuss when he was on for our Bond discussion.
I didn't know about that. Yeah.
I'd imagine they're probably, never mind. I'm not going to say anything. I was going to say, imagine there are a few James Bond Juniors running around. But anyway, the businessman challenging the ownership of the rights to the 007 name has promised fans that James Bond will not die on my watch. It was reported last week that Dubai-based Austrian businessman Joseph Kleindienst, that sounds like a Bond villain, I'm sorry,
I know,
has followed several claims challenging owners of the multi-billion-pound spy franchise over trademark non-use, which could see the character stripped of his catchphrase, the name's Bond, James Bond.
Yeah.
Under the UK and EU law, cancellation actions based on non-use mean that if a name is trademarked against several goods and services, but the owner does not commercially exploit it for 5 years, then a challenge to remove ownership of the name can be made. So they own the rights to the phrase, the name's Bond, James Bond?
I see, and that's interesting to me because if I'm not mistaken, that specific phrase does not come from the novels, right? It comes from the movies. So, yeah, it's entirely possible. One could make the argument that because there were different movie companies involved with many of the different Bond films, there are elements that were introduced in those movies that could be viewed as the rights being owned by that movie company or whoever acquired the rights to those movie companies. Remember, we've often talked about the differences between the original novels they're based on and movies, and in some cases, it's little more than the title that's the same between the two.
Well, like in the case of Spy Who Loved Me or Quantum of Solace.
Yeah,
Quantum of Solace. We'll get into that when we do our Bond stream with part 2 with Michael French. But
right.
The franchise has gone silent in recent years. Daniel Craig announced his retirement as Bond in November 2019, 2 years before the release of the most recent film, 2021's No Time to Die. With no formal plans in place for the next film, the gap could beat the record for the franchise's longest break between installments, which currently stands at 6 years and 4 months for the wait between 1989's License to Kill and 1995's GoldenEye. Yeah, that License to Kill did terribly at the box office, and I think it derailed the Timothy Dalton era because I think they had 2 more movies planned, and they sounded interesting. I read about the plots for them. One was going to be Bond having to stop an assassin in Japan, and this would have been like, I guess, the modern 80s Japan where they were having the boom and everything. That would have been interesting. The other one was going to be a 007 origin story, like how he got his 00, and it was going to have Timothy Dalton in it. Those were the 2 that they were going to do, but they never came out. And then we got 95's GoldenEye, which at that point were in a post Iron Curtain Bond era. That was the big thing around the Brosnan era. Is Bond still needed in the modern world? Because no more Soviet Union, But Kleindienst has attempted to reassure fans that his motivation are rooted in his concerns about the future of the franchise, and he said he is disappointed with how it is currently being treated. Well, part of it's he's not making any money because no one's buying any Bond merchandise because there's no Bond popular culture to take part in right now.
Exactly.
There's not even buzz about anything, and it's. Like I said, there's this supposed rumored video game that's been worked on for years, and we still see nothing of. Because I thought that maybe you could have a game Bond franchise that was its own thing, kind of like the Batman.
Well, maybe they can
games.
have this. Yeah. Maybe they can have the game done by the same company that did, the Indiana Jones in the Second Circle of Hell or whatever it was. Do it in first person so you can't see James Bond. Do it so that it's almost completely impossible to use a firearm. And he's got to punch people and knock them over the head with a wrench or, power up with a cannoli. I mean,
I could see Bond power up with cannoli. Well, to be fair, the original Bond games were first-person shooters, but they were mainly focused on shooting. and you'd have to do a few other things in level 2. Later on, they made him more like third person, like behind the shoulder. Like they did one that was based on From Russia with Love. They even got Sean Connery to do the voice acting in it.
Well, in fairness, I don't remember which one it was, but I remember seeing one that was a first person. And when they do the cut scene and you'd see James Bond, it was the face of the actor, but it was so low poly.
Yep.
It was like a two-dimensional wrap over his face of the actor.
That was GoldenEye. And you're laughing at it now, but that was state of the art when it came out.
Yeah, it was.
I bought that on release.
I am not complaining too much because that's the exact same graphics as the first Sims game. And I used to actually do character skins for the Sims so that I could, so in other words, you could wrap whoever's face you wanted to on a character.
Yeah, you could play as, there were skins for other Bonds too. You could be Sean Connery, Roger Moore, or Timothy Dalton. They didn't put Lazenby in there though. They skipped him. And they had other, and like that was a multiplayer though, and you could fight you could fight Odd Job in multiplayer, or Jaws and other things. But what was really neat, Nintendo at that time, Nintendo bought the rights to James Bond, to make a James Bond video game, because Nintendo typically, they have their own franchises, their own series. They don't typically they don't license out from other people. But I think at that point, the Bond license was cheap, and they picked it up before GoldenEye came out. And then GoldenEye ended up becoming a hit, and that was probably one of their best financial decisions they ever made. They had Rare make the game, which was their British developer that worked for them. So it was still a British game, and it turned out to be a very popular game. I'll get into this more when we do part 2 of the Bond
Rosefire says, I can imagine Q creating an explosive cannoli.
There's the funny scene in GoldenEye when you get to see Pierce Brosnan's Bond meet Q for the first time, and they're showing all the various Q branch weapons, and then he picks up a submarine sandwich, and Q yells at him and says, "Don't touch that!" Why? Is it going to explode? No, that's my lunch. Anyway, but apparently, though, I guess this lawsuit may be dropped now because they can't really go after Eon because dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Oh well, actually, I better not do the Empire theme because I'll get to
right.
But yeah. I know Disney is hunting for that. But look at this, though. We have Amazon MGM gains creative control of 007 franchise as producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson step back. I think it was Midnight's Edge. It might have been, or was it Culture Casino? I'm not sure. But one of them was talking about how Jeff Bezos, like, oh, we own MGM now. We own Bond. And then, like, says, well, no, you really don't.
Exactly. It's exactly right. And
Eon Productions still has creative control over that, but they can work with you.
This is what I was talking about before with this whole rights related issues. These are very, very complicated things, and nobody owns anything outright when it comes to something as divided up as the James Bond franchise.
Because I think the books are owned by somebody else, right?
Right.
And Thunderball, I think Eon Productions finally got Thunderball back, because that was originally owned by the co-author who sued Ian Fleming out of court. Remember, they settled out of court, and apparently Eon Productions didn't have the rights to use Blofeld for many Bond movies. They were planning to bring Blofeld back for Spy Who Loved Me, the Roger Moore one, and they couldn't use him. And that's why when I kept complaining, like, where is Blofeld in these Bond sequels? That's why there's that funny bit at the beginning of For Your Eyes Only where Bond takes care of a mysterious, bald man in a wheelchair with a neck brace.
Right.
Tommy Savalas Blofeld from Honor Her Majesty's Secret Service.
They don't specify that it's him, and it was very clearly a bit of an in-joke, a bit of them, thumbing their nose at. Real quick, I dropped the link to Midnight's Edge's recent video about this situation we're going to be talking about here, and I just realized that, Boomer, only you and I are seeing the weird emoji in Eevee Mux. That's not how it's coming out on the YouTube side.
Listen, okay, well that's great. It's not coming out on the YouTube side, but I see it in Eevee Mux, and I do not like that face. This is how horror movies start. Yeah. I'll be seeing this in the mirror, looking like I think I have like a back mirror in our one restroom area. I'll see it. I'll see him in the mirror. I'll see him behind me in the mirror, and I'll turn. He's not there. I'm going to see this face. It's freaking me out, man.
Can I just tell you? You just touched on indirectly one of the scariest things to me in horror films. It's not the jump scare. It's not the girl coming out of the TV or any of that crap. It's the thing where you see somebody looking into a mirror and they turn and look away and the mirror doesn't. Or the mirror does something different than... that freaks me the F out.
No, the one that freaks me out is when they're looking to the mirror, they see something behind them, they turn around, there's nothing there. And it's like... Yeah. And then look back in the mirror, it's like, there was something there. I know there was something there. So then it makes me wonder, if they turn off the light, will that thing be there and attack them?
Yeah. Don't give them ideas. They'll put that crap in movies.
Oh my word. I don't know let's get into freaking me out. All right. Anyway,
let's get into what Amazon is doing to James Bond now. They're gonna. I swear they're gonna Rings of Power this stuff.
Possibly. Amazon MGM Studios is set to take creative control of the James Bond franchise. The shock announcement, which is sure to shake and indeed stir the industry, not funny, was made Thursday alongside the news that longtime producers and custodians of 007, Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli, would be stepping back. Now, as we know, her dad, Cubby Broccoli, was the one that with Henry Saltzman, they both were producers of the original classic Bond movies, and they got the rights from Ian Fleming. Eventually, Saltzman pulled out, I think, after Man with the Golden Gun. He walked his separate ways. And Cubby Broccoli was they basically said, we need a hit Bond movie or we're going to be in deep trouble. And that's when they decided, we're going to go all out, we're going to pump some money into this, and we're going to make The Spy Who Loved Me. And then, of course, that really worked out for them because that was a huge hit that summer, because that was the same summer as Star Wars. And I argued that if they had gone less expensive, like they had with the last couple Bond movies. They weren't bad Bond movies, but you could tell they weren't spending as much money on them as they had in some of the 60s era ones. But
I really feel like they started getting more and more, and I'm going to blame Moonraker for this. They started getting more and more sci-fi with it. And you know, the laser watch and all the explosions and stuff. It's like, no, keep it simple. You know, this is supposed to be, you know, the technology of James Bond isn't supposed to be, you know, Dick Tracy. It's supposed to be, you know, the kind of stuff that they were using in World War II. That when you find out about it, it's no longer, you know, shocking sci-fi stuff, but you realize that back at the time it was cutting edge, you know?
Well, I think the laser guns are pretty extreme, but they argued, like in Spy Who Loved Me, when he has that underwater car, that was a real working underwater car that someone had made. But yeah, I think it went over the top with Moonraker, though Moonraker had been the best-selling Bond movie up until GoldenEye came out, which was interesting. It was a huge hit at the box office because I think
that did exactly what it intended to do from a marketing standpoint, and that was capitalize on Star Wars.
Because it was supposed to be For Your Eyes Only was supposed to be the next Bond movie, but then they skipped to Moonraker. Then they did For Your Eyes Only, which in defense was more of a grounded Bond movie after that. So that was actually a pretty good one with Roger Moore. But as per details of the historic agreement, Amazon MGM Studios, Wilson Broccoli have formed a joint venture to house the James Bond intellectual property rights. 3 parties remain co-owners of the iconic franchise, but Amazon MGM will have creative control. So they can still make money off of it. I think the Eon Productions can still make the stuff, but Amazon now has creative control. Apparently, I think someone had said, I don't know if this was true, but it cost them another $1 billion to give to the Broccoli family to get full creative control. Since its theatrical introduction over 60 years ago, James Bond has been one of the most iconic characters in filmed entertainment, said Mike Hopkins, head of Prime Video at Amazon MGM Studios. We are grateful to their late Albert R. Broccoli and Harry Saltzman for bringing James Bond to movie theaters around the world, and to Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli for their unyielding dedication to and their role in continuing the legacy of the franchise until they murdered murdered him in the last movie.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm okay. It's just that is cherry.
No, I am not going to throw salt at the writer of this article. He's expressing the frustration that all the fans feel.
Well, he didn't say that part. I just said it myself.
Oh, well, okay. Then you are.
I threw that in there for their
okay,
unyielding. Okay, this is just a quote from the Amazon people. The publicity BS, and they're continuing a role and legacy for by legion of fans worldwide. We are honored to continue this treasured heritage and look forward to ushering the next phase of Legendary 007 for audiences around the world. So here's your audience, Amazon. And it's the audience is not necessarily me, though I'd like to come along for the ride. Your audience is young men. That is your audience for Bond movies. Target it to them. But don't be stupid.
You know, that's actually true because you can make the argument that it's also, on a secondary level, it's also for women. But that's more ancillary. You gear it towards the guys, the girls will come.
Yes.
And I'm not making double entendre there, but that can be implied.
It's Bond, of course. There's always double entendre, but you know what when I was a young man, like in fact I was 18 when GoldenEye came out in theaters, and this was a Bond being made for me and my age group, and because I was able to enjoy these Pierce Brosnan movies, it made me go back and watch the old movies because I was curious. So what's the history of this character? But I needed that introduction to a new, fresh Bond, and Brosnan at the time was the new Bond of that era. And I think that happens with a lot of the different Bond incarnations. They're supposed to be, kind of bring new life into the franchise for a new generation. But and then I guess millennials got Daniel Craig, which we'll discuss on part 2 of the Bond stream. I'm not going to get into Craig right now. Added Wilson, with my 007 career spanning nearly 60 incredible years, I am stepping back from producing the James Bond films to focus on art and charitable projects. Therefore, Barbara and I agree it is time for our trusted partner, Amazon MGM Studios, to lead James Bond into the future. Okay. So you're taking the money and you're running. I got you. Okay. Broccoli commented, my life has been dedicated to maintaining and building upon the extraordinary legacy that was handed to Michael and me by our father, producer Cubby Broccoli, which is why you murdered the character in the last movie. I'm sorry. I keep bringing that up. Okay. I had the honor of working closely with 4 of the tremendously talented actors who had played 007 and thousands of wonderful artists within the industry. With the conclusion of No Time to Die, Michael retiring from the films, I feel it is time to focus on my other projects. What other projects? Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? Possibly. That's the other one that EM Productions had the rights to. They must have got that with the Bond books. And they actually did make the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. In 2022, Amazon bought MGM for $8.5 billion, acquiring a vast catalog of more than 4,000 films and 17,000 TV shows alongside the rights to distribute all of the James Bond films. No Time to Die, the 25th Bond film, and Daniel Craig's 5th and final turn as 007 was released in 2021 and earned $775 million. I wish the audiences had not gone to that. Because I think that was a success. We were predicting doom for that movie, especially with its incessant delays. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Since then, despite endless speculation in the press, there have been no announcements regarding the timeline for the production of the next film or Craig's replacement. And I've argued that, well, I understand these things take time. They want to get a younger actor. They originally were going to do, Tom Hiddleston? And then he was dating Taylor Swift, and he said he became too high profile when he dated Taylor Swift, which made no sense to me. That made absolutely no sense to me. I don't know if he would have been a good Bond or not, but he might have been an interesting choice. But what do you think they're going to do? They're going to do spin-off series, right? That's what they were saying.
Yeah, so again, I would encourage people to check out that Midnight's Edge video that I dropped the link for.
Yes.
They're speculating things like, a Moneypenny spin-off.
Not interested.
An Odd Job, like The First Job or something like that. Jaws as a little minnow. I don't know.
Here's the thing. Someone did bring up the point of doing James Bond Origin. If they were to do his World War II era origin as a series, that would be interesting.
I know.
Because that's only mentioned in the books that he was doing espionage during World War II, like, during the fight with the Axis powers. And that would be an interesting story I wouldn't mind seeing. But
who I'd actually like to see.
But again, it's going to have Bond in it. What?
I'd actually kind of like to see it be a Christopher Nolan film. I could totally see him doing up the whole World War II, like the verisimilitude of World War II.
I think he mentioned interest in doing a Bond film, but the producers didn't want him to.
Well, screw the producers.
And they made the Austin Powers films, aka The Spy Who Shagged Me. I remember that one when that came out. I did love Austin Powers. That might be a good old days coming up. Fleming's Bond stories are complicated and detailed, and they are forever twists. Tech devices barely played a role. Yeah, it's interesting. Right. Here's the thing about the Bond novels as I've read them. They are state of the art. The technology uses are state of the art, but it's not Q crazy like the movies are. Like if he's using, like in one episode, like one thing, he had to use he had to use a scuba gear to get to this island, and you could tell whatever he was using at the time was state of the art. And I was actually impressed how these books that are written in the 50s do not feel nostalgic. It's not through the lens of nostalgia. It's through like things are a lot more advanced now, even since the war. And that's not the lens that's being looked at. But again, the Q branch is mentioned in the books, but you don't have a lot of the goofy stuff in it like you'd had in the movies. Yeah. But
here was another thing that Midnight's Edge was speculating, and I'm concerned. There's talk that they might canonize the pretty easily debunked fan theory that all the different actors of James Bond are actually playing different people with the same code name.
Nope.
No, I agree with you 100%. But I could totally see Amazon doing that kind of crap.
I am already not happy about this because basically Bond for the last few years has been caught between a rock and a hard place. You have, who the heck is the head of Amazon? It's not Sherry Redstone. I'm thinking of somebody else. But I don't like that woman in charge of productions over there. And Barbara Broccoli, I'm sorry, the Craig era. I'll get into this on part 2 stream. I'm going to save my thoughts on that.
Okay.
But we had 2 of the worst Bond movies come from that era, the Craig era. But I introduced, someone was saying I introduced.
So wait a minute. I think we should address this because I think this is a misconception that a lot of people get. Aren't most Bond films in different continuities? No, you've got to think about them the same way you think of like Superman. It's a sliding scale of time, but it's the same guy. And I'm sorry, you have to accept that because of references that are made in the Pierce Brosnan era to the George Lazenby.
Okay, here's the problem. I understand Matt Inui's problem though, because here's what happens. You have Honor and Majesty's Secret Service come out, and I haven't gotten to the book yet. I'm going to know more when I get to the book. I'm on Thunderball at the moment, but I do know that the director said I want to make this as accurate to the book as I can. But the problem with that is in the prior film, Bond and Blofeld already met face to face. So Blofeld would have picked out Bond like that when he was in disguise as that professor.
And I'd say that's also the problem with the whole idea of Bond being a code name because, you know, as soon as somebody shows up and says, my name is Bond, James Bond, oh, you're a spy. Kill him, you know?
It's I understand what he's saying. Here's the problem. There are movies that I feel pay attention to the continuity and there are movies that don't. That's the problem. Yeah. Like at the beginning of For Your Eyes Only, there's that wonderful scene with Roger Moore Bond by Teresa's grave. And, you know, and her death was mentioned in another Roger Moore movie. And that's the beginning of the movie where the fake Blofeld, I consider him the real Blofeld.
Wasn't it a Pierce Brosnan when the 2 characters off... out of his earshot, he says something. He was married once or something like that.
Maybe
or something like that.
Maybe.
But
no. It was Dalton. It was Dalton.
Okay.
License to Kill, and
gotcha.
I think Felix Leiter's bride like tosses him the garters,
right.
and he's oh, what's wrong? Don't you want to get? Oh, you want to be a bachelor forever? And then like he kind of just walks off, and then you know, Felix Leiter tells her, he was married once. I'll tell you about it later. You know, because of course that was.
There is only one James Bond film that is absolutely out of continuity with all of the others, and that's Never Say Never Again.
Yeah, because it was a remake of one of the
it
other
was a
Bond
remake. It was a different company. It was a weird rights related issue. It's a movie I kind of liked, but
people did like it, yeah.
Yeah.
But that came out the same year as Octopussy. So I think they were both fighting each other. So it was Connery versus Roger Moore. Maybe we may have to bring that up on the Bond Part 2 stream. But I have to say, I did like the fact they got Max von Sydow to play Blofeld. That was good casting. But, for that. But for the love of God, can they not make a 007 taking place during World War II? Well, I'm just saying, according to the books, now to be fair, the books don't take place in World War II. He's been in the service for a while, and the focus is not access stuff. Sometimes he may run into former people of a certain regime, but it's mainly Soviet Union. That's the main apparatus in the first half of the book series. Then it becomes about Spectre in the latter half. But I don't know. I don't know what they're planning on doing. I got a bad feeling they're going to try to turn this into an expanded universe. When it's not an expanded universe, there was one character. His name is Bond, James Bond. Barbara Broccoli and Eon Productions already were trying this after Die Another Day came out with Pierce Brosnan, where they introduced, I think her name was Jinx, played by Halle Berry, who was a American spy that was getting involved. And I think the idea was they were going to be doing movies about Jinx that took place, and these movies would take place in the Bond universe, but it would be about the American version of, like, the CIA version of Bond. And it was going to be her, and her handler was Michael Madsen from the Tarantino movies, which was interesting.
I see that as a spin-off, and I don't really have an issue with that. I
didn't have an issue with the time. Do you know why it never happened?
Why?
Catwoman came out a year later.
And
did terribly, and they didn't want to risk putting her in a lead. That's why they were toying with that. And at that point, I think they were over Brosnan anyway, and they decided we're just going to reboot with Daniel.
Jesse Guajardo, I would recommend you check out a movie from 1990 called Spy Maker: The Secret Life of Ian Fleming.
Interesting, yeah.
Check it out.
There's also
the real life of Ian
James
Fleming
Bond
is every bit as interesting as James Bond.
He did a lot for the cause during World War II.
Yes, he did.
And I'm sure he wouldn't say this, but I think he is in his own way a war hero too.
Yeah, in fact, Darth Plato is saying that Bond is a composite of real people, one of which being Ian Fleming himself. Absolutely.
Yeah, Ian Fleming said, he was never as good at the womanizing, though he did try, and I think that Bond was also more handsome than him.
The womanizing, good-looking aspect was someone else that he admired a lot, that he knew personally. Yeah.
I have a question for you. What do you think of Amazon having full creative control? Are you hopeful?
Amazon should have full creative control of absolutely nothing, because Rings of Power. That's all I'm going to say about that. But what I am going to say is I am absolutely glad that Daniel Craig is done playing James Bond. And apparently, we're also not going to see him in the DC Comics films either.
Yes.
Why does he look like De Niro now?
I don't know. I couldn't find the sometimes when I do the PDFs of the freeze frames of the articles, I don't get the pictures, so I pick another picture. But Daniel Craig exit DC's war movie. I wanted to pick a non-Bond looking picture for him. Okay, Daniel Craig.
He doesn't look anything like James Bond anymore. That's for sure.
Daniel Craig exits DC war movie Sergeant Rock from Luca Guadagnino. Okay. I need to work.
Italian. I can't even say
work on that name. It's a fine name. I just don't know how to pronounce it. Daniel Craig.
Guadagnino.
Thank you. Daniel Craig. The second G is probably silent. Okay. Daniel Craig is an
a G and an N together is like an N with a tilde in Spanish.
Oh, okay. Daniel Craig isn't enlisting into the DC universe after all. The actor has dropped out of consideration for the title role in Sergeant Rock, the DC Comics adaptation from Craig's queer director Luca. His last name. Screenwriter Justin.
Why does it matter that he's queer? Why do they have to put these kinds of things into articles like this?
No. No. The movie was queer. He's the director of the movie Queer.
Oh!
He may be that, I don't know. News of Craig's possible involvement first broke in November, but a source with knowledge of the project notes that the actor never formally committed to making it. A representative for DC Studios declined to comment. The character, who debuted in 1959, isn't a classical superhero. Rather, he's a non-commissioned officer in the U.S. Army who leads his unit, Easy Company, through the European theater of World War II. Though he does eventually become chief of staff for Lex Luthor, DC Studios co-chiefs Peter Gunn and Peter Safran are said to be excited about the film as a straightforward war picture and see it as a chance to demonstrate the wide breadth of content they intend to make under the DC banner. They are already seeking another actor for the title role. Craig's work in the movie Queer won the actor some of the best reviews of his career, though it did not ultimately translate to major nominations for awards season. Craig will next appear in Detective Benoit Blanc in Wake Up Dead Man, the third film in writer-director Rian Johnson's Knives Out mystery films.
Yeah, good luck with that.
The cruelest thing is that Rian Johnson got a second win with those movies. He should have been shit canned from Hollywood. Sorry for the language. Okay, anyway.
Well, the one thing I will say is I have very mixed feelings about a Sergeant Rock project at all.
Why?
Specifically because look, when DC was doing Sergeant Rock originally, they were just really good World War II era soldier stories.
Yes.
You know? And I don't know if Hollywood can manage to do that these days. And my bigger concern is when you take him out of World War II, bring him into the current day, and put him as chief of staff for Lex Luthor. Yes, I know that Lex Luthor was the president of the United States in DC Comics some time ago. That was a great storyline. It wasn't terribly political back then, but you know that they wouldn't be able to resist making it such now. And I think that's going to be the kind of thing that kills the DC universe if they even are doing okay with other things leading up to that.
If they are smart, and I'm not saying that they are, but I did attend a presentation. Oh, wait. Hey, Amazon, here's the formula. I got a new actor. Do the John Gardner novels, print money, hell geezers. I'll have to look for those. Oh, you mean, did he write the newer Bond novels? I've often said they should probably start going to the Bond novels written by other authors.
Well, here's my thought. Somebody else said something about it would be good if they did, like pre-James Bond in the World War II era, right? You could draw on Spy Hunter and the real life of Ian Fleming to do it. So do your prequels, right?
I would do a limited series for that, maybe.
Exactly. Well, 3-4 movies.
I want to see how he got the 00, and according to the books, he got it from killing someone working for the Japanese, and the other one was a Vichy French. That was the two people.
Sure. Then you cast a new James Bond, a new actor,
and then play him older,
and then take him into the Cold War era and do the novels. Just 50s, do the novels and change James Bond whenever you have to. Change the actor whenever you have to. And then take it into the modern day. And start you doing John Gardner novels, start doing, new stuff into the modern day. There was there was a bunch of comics that were pretty good too. There was License Revoked. There was License
There's a ton of
Renewed.
Stuff. There's a ton of other Bond media, even from the Fleming novels, that if they wanted to, it's probably better than what they would come up with maybe on their own. So I would definitely look into those. Did some great stories of proven lives by Ian Fleming. Yeah, I've often said, I know Raymond Benson did a bunch of Bond novels as well. I think they could look to all of these. Here's what it is, though. I did attend a presentation at one of the local public libraries in my area, and it was about war comics that were made by DC and Marvel, and it was very interesting how DC did war comics versus Marvel. Marvel
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Yeah, because Marvel War Comics, they would have Reed Richards show up before he became Mr. Fantastic, because he fought in the war. You would have, of course, Steve Rogers, Captain America, could show up because he was in World War II. Nick Fury was a Howling Commando. He would be in there. So you could have other Marvel characters show up in wartime. The DC War Comics were different. I don't think they were supposed to be connected at all to the mainline DC universe. They were their own thing.
Now, actually, they were. What they did was they had storylines, kind of like Marvel, where you had the superheroes versus like Nazi, like supervillains and stuff like that. But
like Vandal Savage and all that, yeah.
Vandal Savage and Kerr Degaton would be very similar to like Red Skull, but this was the way they dealt with it, to keep, because they had, where you just described, more or less normal people that ended up becoming superheroes later. You had people like Superman, Wonder Woman, and so on and so forth. The way they dealt with Superman not being able to go into Germany and just take out Hitler was, they had a storyline early on where, and this was actually true. We know that Hitler was trying to get a hold of a bunch of biblical artifacts,
right?
Whether they were real or not, including,
this is real life. This really happened in history.
Yeah, the Spear of Destiny. He actually obtained an object that some people believe to have been the actual Spear of Destiny. That's as much up for debate as the veracity of the Shroud of Turin and so many other things.
He was after the Ark of the Covenant as well.
He was after the Ark of the Covenant, which is, of course, discussed in Indiana Jones. Yeah. But in the comics, he had the actual Spear of Longinus, which had the magical ability to protect, the fatherland. And literally the superheroes could not enter Germany to go after him, as long as he had this thing. It was like a protective shield that he had. So it was a contrivance so that you could have, Superman pretty much had to stay out of Germany, and people like Kerr Degaton and so forth would have to come out of Germany to do their machinations against the superheroes and so forth. Yeah.
I'm going to answer Darth Plato. Apparently, Vandal Savage, from my research, actually dates back to the actual 1940s and the Justice Society of America. He goes back.
Yeah, Vandal Savage is an older character. Yeah.
In my opinion, he'd be a perfect arch enemy for Wonder Woman. I think he, especially.
I do believe that he was used extensively in the Wonder Woman comics.
Yes. Yeah, he's perfect. One of my favorite episodes of Justice League was an episode where she was up against Vandal Savage. It was called Maid of Honor, and it was brilliant. And you could just see her loathing of him, because when she encounters him, she's like, Vandal Savage, This is a war criminal. He says, "Oh yes, my grandfather. He was a very evil man. I'm Vandal Savage the Third."
Right.
They were like, "Yeah, your likeness is uncanny. But our genes are persistent." That's what he said. And you could tell he's so evil. Just when
but the actual history of Vandal Savage is that he was like a Neanderthal that became immortal because of some meteorite or something like that.
Yes, that's what they did in Justice League. It was a meteorite
and
that made him powerful.
There have been stories that have implied, for example, that he was the Cain of Cain and Abel, and he was the wandering Jew from mythology and so forth, Kabbalah and whatnot.
Interesting.
The man who can't die. Yeah.
Very interesting. So, anyway. So, that's it for this. Don't mess up Sergeant Rourke. Just make a good World War II. Sergeant Rock, my mistake. Yeah. Anyway, I've not read him, but I know he has his fans, and I would go for a good World War II movie. I don't care what the movie is based on. I just want the movie to be good.
Not only that, Sergeant Rock was so well respected within the DC lore that when they got around to Crisis on Infinite Earths, they actually had a great end story for that. A lot of the superheroes had their end story in the Crisis on Infinite Earth universe. there's of course the very famous whatever became of the last Son of Krypton, which was the Alan Moore story.
Yes.
Wonder Woman and Supergirl both die in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and Sergeant Rock and all of his band are killed trying to defend the world against things that were completely beyond their ken, and it's a real heroic thing. Now, of course, Sergeant Rock, continues on just like Superman, Wonder Woman, and Supergirl do in the new continuity. But, in the Silver Age storylines, he has a very heroic ending.
That's good. Let's hope it's a good movie.
Someone who has not had much of a heroic ending, but we're going to talk about it nonetheless.
Oh, okay. So we're going to file this for now under rumors. Rumors, I think, are credible, but we're going to wait till we get official word. All right?
Yeah.
Doctor Who facing acts as lead star Ncuti Gatwa quits, quote unquote quits. Now, this has not been officially said yet because, of course, no one's going to talk about this officially before season 2 premieres.
And I'll tell you something else. Whether or not he quit or the role has been removed from him, we may never know either. So I think either way is posturing.
The recent series suffered abysmal ratings, with fans outraged by the BBC shoehorning wokery into storylines. Bosses have postponed any decision until Nkuti's second season has aired later this year, but the Scot, age 32, is already believed to have filmed his regeneration exit scene, and crew fear the BBC will shelve the show after 62 years. An insider said Ncuti doesn't want to be tied to the series beyond this and plans to relocate to Los Angeles with several Hollywood projects standing by for him. His team also see a lot of fan backlash from the series and don't want the perception of him still being the Doctor to get away of any future work. The show has been poorly managed in recent years, and there's a lot of people who've been working on this show for years and now being cast aside due to poor leadership. People warned some episodes were getting too caught up on an agenda rather than telling a story, and those people got shouted down, ignored. Nkuti's first series, which began last May, attracted between 2.25 million and 3.18 million viewers, a tiny fraction of what it used to pull in. Controversy over the storylines has ramped up since 2023 when Russell T Davies returned as showrunner. A trio of 60th anniversary specials kicked off with a plot involving a character who was able to save London because they were trans. Another saw the Doctor, played by the returning David Tennant, realize he was gay after developing a crush on Sir Isaac Newton. Doctor Who returns in Christmas special Joy to the World. However, viewing figures were still 2 million up on the episodes to come under Ncuti, accompanied by new companion Ruby Sunday, played by Millie Gibson. The first full series had plots slamming everything from capitalism to Christianity and introducing a new enemy played by a drag queen. It was slamming Christianity. I thought England has a national church.
Let me tell you something.
Christian church.
I don't care if it's political, religious, who you like to do bedroom things with. When you exclude whole segments of the population and castigate them, you got to expect your projects to fail.
So a huge question mark also hangs over whether Disney will renew its deal, said to be worth $100 million with the BBC. Crew working on the show in Cardiff are said to be furious after being left in limbo after filming Wrap last week. So they don't know. The insider word on the set is that BBC will shelve the series for at least 5 years. The crew were told not to hold their breath for work on the series for at least 10 years. Yeah, someone's telling the crew this stuff, I think. As we scramble to find work, those responsible get to ride off on another well-paid projects without any repercussions. Filming wrapped on Friday afternoon with no fanfare or celebration. Nkuti's
I will say this: that is what lends credibility to the rumor. I do believe this is coming from sources that are actually crew members of the show saying this, because this is what they've heard and they are angry about not being able to work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but those are like the cameramen and the people in charge of those people.
No, but there's also.
I'm just kidding. I'm just. It's like the snideness we have toward, unfortunately,
If
the regular
we
people
are
that work on
if
these
we are in limbo on a project and I can't get work, I
I have a
can't go and
mortgage to
work on
pay.
another show. Yeah, exactly.
Kid
So
needs braces, that sort of thing. Yes.
is that a Britain bashing joke about kids needing braces or something?
I just use that. Okay. My kid has to get got his tonsils. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
But yeah, no,
there are
it's
plenty of
true.
Britons with great teeth, and
Yeah, they're all wealthy actors that have to look good for their parts.
Jenna Coleman, she had nice teeth, right? Okay.
Jenna Coleman kind of had nice everything.
Yes.
But,
Anyway, Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, and Jodie Whittaker all did at least 3 before handing over to Tartaski. Yeah, that's short. The only other had 2 was Colin Baker.
I do feel like this thing about 10 years, probably right. This is going to be comparable to the end of the Sylvester McCoy era, where it's going to go into hiatus for a very long time. And when they bring it back, it's going to have to be in a new era with a new showrunner who has the vision to back it up and fix
with
things.
Writers who care about.
Yeah. If they don't do that, it will not be coming back. My fear is that in 10 years, they may decide to completely reboot and say, we're going back to the first Doctor.
Do they have to completely reboot?
Almost, yeah.
I mean,
they don't have with Doctor Who. You can always there's always a way through time travel and and this and that where they could go back and say, you know what, all of that endless child bull crap was machinations of the Master, and it didn't really happen, and hell, this wasn't even the Doctor all along.
So there were dumb things done during the McCoy era, like when Scarrow got blown up. That was dumb, which they eventually retconned and said, "Oh, that wasn't really Scarrow."
Which they retconned with the 96.
That sort of thing's survivable. The stuff they've done on recent Who is not. I don't think is survivable. I think they've completely messed it up. They've messed up the whole Time Lord culture in the Gallifreyan.
There is a way that they could reboot it. And I know people are right now cringing at what I'm about to say. Mm-hmm. But if they were to go back to the beginning, okay, and look at every episode from the William Hartnell era, right? And just distill them down, kind of the way they did with the Peter Cushing movies, but not exactly. Kind of distill them down to the plot points and the character development, and smooth out the rough edges, right? And instead of going, what was it? It was like 3 seasons or something like that of William Hartnell. Bring it down to 1 season and hit all the main points. Get the Daleks in there. Get the Susan Foreman stuff, all that stuff. And you basically can retell the stories, but just kind of take it up.
I had an idea of what they could do with Susan, and maybe people will yell at me and think this was a bad idea, because he said that was his granddaughter, that sort of thing, right? Which didn't make a lot of sense. That means she was be a Gallifreyan who could regenerate, because I think she stays with the humans. Would have been interesting if she had been a human that maybe his son or his children found and decided to raise up on Gallifrey as one of them, even though she was actually a human being. And that's the reason he went back to Earth with her in the 60s, because he was trying to reintegrate her into human society.
Could be, but what
that would have been interesting as an explanation for...
That could be, and that would have been interesting, but there was always a fan theory that perhaps part of something not shown on screen, something that happened off screen, was when the Doctor left her behind in the after the
Dalek invasion Earth, right?
After the Dalek invasion,
yes,
he did with her the same thing that they did with the Tennant Doctor, where he forgets that he's Gallifreyan and his mind is kept in the fob watch and stuff like that. And then you find out later on that that Susan Foreman lived out a life as a human, not knowing she was Gallifreyan.
Okay.
And at some point in the future, she encounters the Doctor and a new companion, and the companion, convinces her to open the fob watch, and she regenerates. And that would explain also why the Doctor didn't know she was still alive.
Something else people keep forgetting. There was a David Tennant episode where he was on some planet where there was, I guess people are kind of savagey, and he created another daughter there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Off into the stars.
The Jenny.
Yeah, that's her name, Jenny.
The Jenny Doctor, or the Jenny daughter.
They could have, again, if they had wanted to. That was also an idea I had if they insisted on making the Doctor woman, just have the generations run out, and then like the last season of the one Doctor, he has his daughter take over the mantle of being the Doctor, and then you would have Jenny be it, and then Jenny would regenerate. But just forget it. There are all sorts of things. They never bother, especially with New Who, going back to continuity and trying to figure things out. They would bring things up that never got touched on again.
And that's exactly it. They could have not only had Jenny come back, take over for the Doctor, but she could even call herself the Doctor. She is the daughter of the Doctor. She's like, well, now I'm the Doctor. And
this might be a Friday stream topic.
I think it would be a good idea.
I think talking about like New Who, where it went wrong and where it went right. Maybe that's an idea. Okay, especially when coming to an end. But yeah, that might be an idea for a Friday stream because we got to move along. But I do like this conversation. But the actress was the fifth Doctor's actor's daughter. Yeah, and she married David Tennant, as I recall, right?
I know. How weird is that? Your father's the Doctor and you marry the Doctor.
Hey, moving on to, this one I loved. Not really. Disney poll crosses the line as company asks guests about whether their loved ones might die. In a startling,
and I did not shorten this one because I do want to give very, very obvious accreditation to that Park Place. Make sure you check out this article, and while you're there, make sure you subscribe to that Park Place.
Yes. But yeah, here we go. According to a bombshell report from the Wall Street Journal, Disney sent a 47-page survey to Disney Vacation Club members this fall, loaded with invasive questions about their finances. But one question in particular stood out for its morbid audacity. Disney asked responders how likely they were to experience the loss of a family member or loved one within the next 5 years, or to be receiving / managing an inheritance. Here's a thought, Disney. Maybe you could enter people who lost a family member into a raffle to give them a free Disney vacation to help.
Nope, they want their money. They don't want to, be nice. This is the message they're very clearly sending. We are desperate, we are creepy, and we want your inheritance. So how soon before your parents die? A great way to get over their death is to come to, the happiest place on earth.
Really isn't all that happy.
The formerly happiest place on earth.
Disney
I would say absolutely. I will go to Epic Universe.
Yes, you read that right. Disney issued a poll to its customers about potential family tragedies to gauge how many of them might soon be flushed with inheritance money that could be spent on opulent Disney vacations. So,
yeah.
I don't know, like your father dies, but but you're getting a big windfall. Come down to Disneyland where we've jacked the price.
This is the same company that wants, if you get a free subscription to Disney Plus because you got a cable or phone deal or something like that, you sign away your rights to sue them if they kill you. That's how creepy Disney has become.
I have an image of Bob Iger taking an average American and just shaking him down for cash and just the cash falling out of them like in the old strips. Desperation dresses
data
collection.
Yeah, going and taking 2 showers.
It's really not your business if a person's family member is going to be passing Disney. That's a bit invasive.
No, they want it to be, though, because they want that money. They literally want it to be their business.
Maybe instead that money could go into savings instead of getting.
I swear, I almost feel like the underlying thing is, hey, do you have a parent that's planning on leaving you a lot of money? We could arrange for that to happen sooner rather than later. Just saying.
I now have an image of someone with heart troubles, and then like Donald Duck like a guy dressed as Donald Duck, like pops in the window to spook him, and he keels over.
Exactly.
And then James Bond is sent into investigators. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, dude, there's your Bond movie. There you go. Have him take down Disney. I'm sorry. Oh no, I can now see him romancing one of the women dressed as Cinderella or something.
Only to find out that it's a dude.
Of course.
You know what? Now we've crossed the line into Austin Powers here.
Well, no, the joke in Austin Powers that happened in a Bond movie where Bond is looking at this widow going into a car and then notices, it's something. But it was obvious that a woman was playing the widow, and then when he punches her, it's a man underneath instead.
Oh God!
That was from Thunderbolt. It's a great Connery scene where he. My dear Jacques Vivar, you shouldn't have opened up that door all by yourself. And then they have a nasty duke out. This guy dressed as his own widow, basically, because he pretended to fake his death, to avoid bonds. Anyway, Melissa's story illustrates what Disney already knows. Their prices have soared beyond the reach of average families. And now, rather than making their parks more affordable, Disney seems to be banking on future windfalls from inheritance checks. I don't know, man. What happened to Disney?
This is incredibly short-sighted. It used to be that the company planned for the future. Now Disney is holding together their exhibits with baling wire and chewing gum. Ceilings are falling down. Sewage is backing up.
Rats.
They're closing down the rides on a regular basis because they can't keep them running. They're tearing down the most popular rides to put up rides that nobody wants and that don't run anyway.
They're getting rid of benches for people to sit on after they've been walking a while. Keep it moving.
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. Right, exactly.
Especially in very hot, humid Orlando weather. Anyway, do you think this is tone deaf? This is what WW Pro had a question about. What do you think?
Cannot be more tone deaf. Yes.
What happened to Disney, man? It was after they bought Star Wars, Lucasfilm. That's when I noticed the change overtaking them. They were never a perfect company, but they weren't this bad.
It was years ago. Look, I think there's really no way around it. It's all Iger. Yes, you can blame all the people he brought in, all the ideologues that have destroyed everything, but it was him that was responsible for hiring these people and bringing them in.
Yeah.
Disney is Spectre. Yeah, exactly.
Actually, it's funny. They did a Beverly Hills Cop movie where he's basically in Disneyland in the movie. But nowadays, it would be the guy that running Disneyland would be the villain, instead of being some corrupt guys on the inside instead. This is just disgusting. People are going to lose a loved one. That's really none of your business, Disney. Okay. Unless they're trying to go to the loved one ready to pass. Sure, you want to give part of your inheritance to the Disney Corporation that makes people so happy instead of giving it to your kids, huh? Right? I don't know.
Maybe the underlying implication is you need to set up a trust just in order to be able to go to Disney someday.
Or maybe not go to Disney at all and go to other parks or do other attractions. There are other places in the United States to visit during the summer. We would do Disney like every 5 years or so growing up, but other years we would go to other parts.
Disney will not get my money ever again. I am definitely looking at Epic Universe in 2006, though.
They're going to be killing it next year. Yeah.
Yes, they are.
They already... Universal.
What did I say?
2006.
Yes, I'm going back in time to go to a park that won't exist yet.
Even in 2006, Universal still kicked butt. And
that is true. No, you're absolutely right.
And by the way, I heard you got to try Voodoo Donut. I'm anxious to try them out. Were they were pretty good, right?
Try the one that's actually the Voodoo doll because it's got this raspberry jam in it that really is good.
That sounds good, actually. Okay.
Yeah.
It's good, but it's really no better or different than any other jam-filled donut?
Well, it's better than like your Dunkin' Donuts. It's very much a boutique bakery style donut. It really
Remember
is.
when Anthony Bourdain, he toured Voodoo Donut? They had like a maple donut with a piece of bacon on it.
I saw that. I saw that there. I pointed it out to Netter too. Yeah.
They got into trouble though with the FDA. They had a donut with a thing of cough medicine in the middle with the plastic cup. It was supposed to be like if you were suffering from a cold or like
that is weird.
But the FDA got after them on that. No, you can't put medicine in your food like that. Don't. You know?
Yeah, especially if somebody might be allergic.
Well, yeah, codeine is controlled.
Yeah. And it would be like alcohol.
Yeah.
They had to take that off their menu. As DEI buckles under President Donald Trump, Amazon Studios, along with its parent company, the broader tech industry, and much of corporate America, have discontinued its inclusion policy and playbook unveiled in the summer 2021 to codify the existing diversity, equity, inclusion practices with the aim, it is said then, of creating content that is more representative of U.S. audiences. We've said from the beginning that our efforts to ensure diverse and inclusive storytelling would be fluid and change over time. We continue to evolve this vital work in concert with our commitment to our global audience of viewers at the center of everything we do. An Amazon spokesperson said, above all...
Translation. We screwed up. We're getting sued. It's going to cost us a lot of money. We also have lost all the USAID money.
I think
so
that's
we
what this is
really
about.
Start needing to get profitable again.
They had some of the worst creative inclusive rules ever. They were like, you have to have this percentage of people and this percentage. I'm like, this is stifling the creative process. You can't do this.
Yeah,
and now I'm hoping maybe this is why I kind of want to have this on the same night as the Bond thing. Like, is Amazon still as awful as they've been? But apparently they're tracking a little bit. I don't know.
These companies are being forced to backtrack. Don't be mistaken. The people that work there still have these ideologies, but just like it's always been, you got to leave your politics at the door. If this bombs because of your politics, you're going to be out, because we now need to go back to being profitable. We've been saying for years that they did not, what is the wages of woke is broke, or get woke, go broke.
Get woke, go broke. Yes.
The only problem that was propping up these companies was the money wasn't coming from the audiences. The money was coming, we have now discovered, at least in part, from USAID and other government grants. Now, I'm sure there's still money coming from other private donors, but not having the USAID really hurts. And these companies are, even with the being propped up, are on a nice edge. After COVID, after all these other things, as people are turning away and not paying attention, they're just throwing bad money after bad money. They have to start getting profitable or they will die. Yeah, DEI equals DIE. Yeah.
I have to say, I don't know if I completely trust it, but hold on. Jennifer Salke, that's what I was thinking of. With the establishment of inclusion policy, inclusion playbook, Amazon Studios has committed itself to being a thought and action leader in the transformative industry, said studio head Jennifer Salke. We know how much work there is to be done to improve representation on both camera and behind the scenes, and it starts at home with us with a clear directives and a commitment to accountability. These guys provide a path toward a more equitable future, both on and off camera. Now, this was years back, I think, when she said that. I don't know if she's changed her tune visibly, unless she said that recently. I'm not trusting Amazon. One of the many U.S. companies to embrace DEI.
Oh, we just lost you again there, Boomer. Oh, we completely lost him. He's gone from the studio.
So how you doing?
I'm doing good. Let's see here. I might actually have to just open up this article and see if I can figure out where he was. Give me a second here, folks. Let's see. While the establishment of the inclusion policy and inclusion playbook, Amazon Studios has committed itself to being a thorough and action leader in the transformation of our industry, said studio head Jennifer Salke. Then we know how much work there is to be done to improve reputation, both on camera and behind the camera, but it starts at home with us, with clear, decisive, and directives.
Accountability. These guys.
Yeah, let me bring it down here so I can actually see it. Let's see.
Oh, I can read it for you.
Hello.
Sorry.
PBS, I'm going to continue reading. PBS and NPR Parent has disbanded its DEI. Disney has rolled it back, and the FCC is investigating diversity initiatives at NBC Universal, parent Comcast. Big tech companies were among the first to retreat. Amazon eliminated all mention of DEI from its latest annual report. Meta was among the first to cut such programs. Amazon's founder Jeff Bezos and Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, along with Apple CEO Tim Cook and Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai, were prominently featured at Trump's scaled-down indoor inauguration. Candy Castleberry, Amazon's vice president of inclusive experiences and technology, whatever the hell that is, told employees in a December memo that the company was in the process of winding down outdated programs and materials as part of a broader review of hundreds of initiatives, according to CBS. All of that to say, please don't sue us anymore. We will no longer discriminate against you because of the color of your skin, who you choose to vote for, who you choose to or not sleep with, religion, the color of your shoes, any of those other things, because the law, is on your side.
Yeah. So, are you happy with Amazon right now?
I'm not happy with Amazon, but I am happy that they are basically eating crow. That's what this really is when you get right down to it.
All right. Okay. I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. If we'll see how this plays out. Let's move on to Xbox.
Take care, DJ Play Nice. He says, I'm out. Y'all be safe. Have fun. Take care of your crew and rock. Have an awesome week. Yes, you too, DJ Play Nice. Take care.
Thank you. I reported in November that Microsoft was, not me, the writer of the article. I reported in November that Microsoft was about to start a bigger effort to bring AI features to Xbox, and today the company is unveiling what it is calling a breakthrough in AI for gaming. Microsoft's new Muse AI model could help Xbox developers create parts of games in the future, and the company says it's even exploring the potential of using it to preserve classic games and optimize them for modern hardware. Microsoft Research has created Muse, a first-of-its-kind generative AI model that can create a game environment based on visuals or players' controller actions. It understands a 3D game world and game physics and can react to how players interact with a game. This allows the model to create consistent and diverse gameplay rendered by AI, demonstrating a major step toward generative AI models that can empower game creators, explains Fatima Carter, Corporate Vice President of Gaming AI at Microsoft. The Muse model was trained on a large amount of human gameplay data from Xbox game Bleeding Edge, thanks to a collaboration between Microsoft Research and CluuStudio Ninja Theory, both of which are based in Cambridge in the United Kingdom. This partnership allows us to closely collaborate with the game studio to understand what needs to be in place and how we can responsibly unlock access to a large amount of gameplay data. I'm just going to get my long and the short of it. It's getting late. I don't like this.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree with you. No, I agree with you. And I think ultimately there's a lot of high-minded ideas about what can be done with AI, generative AI, right? It's not real artificial intelligence. It's a very advanced version of chatbot, of trying to guess what the next word in your sentence is going to be, and stuff like that. And we've seen it with the AI that is, available to you through ChatGPT and Grok and all the others. They do very interesting facsimiles of what you're asking for, but every now and again there's this, 12-fingered, feet on the hands type picture that's like that. What the heck is that? And I think that it's very loosey goosey the way they allow it to just generate anything, and they try to rein it in with very poor results, because I can still accidentally generate topless women in Mid-Journey, but whatever.
But they have 5 breasts.
But they have and a nipple on their nose, right? But that's an exaggeration, but it's true because there is no real learning model for these machines. They don't understand human anatomy. They don't understand continuity of movement. That's why my concern is it will generate movement in these games, and it will suddenly do something that is physically impossible because they haven't taught these algorithmical systems what is and is not possible. There is something in between generative AI and the old-fashioned physics of gaming where there's a real sweet spot, where if you explain to the computer, human bodies can't do this. And unless it's a specific character that is, an exception, humans have 2 arms and 2 legs, 10 fingers and 10 toes. And, this is how anatomy works. And legs bend this way and not that way, unless those kind of limitations are put on things, you're always going to have some really, really weird, almost nightmare-inducing elements,
Yeah.
My other concern is I could totally see a very lazy open world created using generative AI that doesn't remember the map that you were on yesterday. And when you try to go back to whatever place, it's not there anymore. It generates a new place.
It's just, I want things made by programmers. And like you were saying, if the programmer is mastering this stuff, that's one thing. But it's sounding like they want to use this. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
You still can't get away from something that I don't think they're using anymore in gaming, and that's play testing. There must be play testing before you release games, especially if you're going to use AI. Have people come in, test these games, and go, this guy's got 2 heads here. We got to fix that.
We could have the AI play test the games.
Yeah, but the AI is not going to recognize the problems.
I'm just trying to sound like a corporate suit, okay?
That's very frustrating because that literally is exactly the way the corporate suits would be. Netter likes a channel called... what is that? The Viva La Dirt League. And they've got a whole string of skits where it's guys at a gaming company, and they're basically lampooning the modern gaming companies with their loot boxes and, microtransactions and exploitation of, put all this effort into an expansion and then scrap the expansion and turn it into, a battle royale, and it's just soul crushing because it's just way too real.
And you got this innocent girl who's their social media manager going, you can't do that. The fans don't want that.
Oh, who cares what the fans want? We just want the fans money. That, yeah. So, yeah. Not funny because it's way too true.
I mean, especially since one of the things they had was, let's create a ultra golden thingamabobby that costs $1 million.
Yeah.
And the guy that does all the development goes, we no one's going to buy that.
And then all of a sudden,
put one in there, just put it in. So he creates this thing. He goes, okay, the ultra golden one thing with Bobby is in here.
And someone bought it.
He blinks and goes, oh my gosh, it's sold. And they're like, all right, $1 million. Wait, it's another one sold. Okay, 7 more have sold.
Yeah. Yeah, because what they're basically lampooning is there's always idiots out there that will throw money at it because of fear of missing out.
Yeah, what was that? FOMO?
FOMO, yeah. And it's these morons that perpetuate this crap in games. Just saying it.
All right, last call, Troy Pacelli.
Two heads are better than one. Yeah.
Yeah, and the automation, Mark Pittsnipe says that he's torn because he can usually use AI to get a piece of code too. So I don't know. I mean,
no, actually, that is, you know what, Pitsniper, that is exactly what this kind of stuff should be used for. You should use it. Look, if you use, and I'm not saying I would ever do this, wink, wink, use Grok to create, I don't know, say song lyrics. Then you look at it and you go, oh, this is really good. Oh, this sentence doesn't make any sense. And you go in and retype it. That's a tool, right? You know, just like, look, I hate to say this, folks, but all the same people that are upset about AI and upset about, you know, every other, you know, thing are the same people that use tracing to get like some little element of their own drawing. It's happened in comics, sometimes a little too much, a little too obviously, but sometimes you use reference pictures to get a pose or something like that, and then you go in and you embellish and you put the cape and the symbol, and you know, maybe you know, don't know how to draw feet, so maybe you have to trace somebody's feet. Not speaking about any particular comic book artist, but you know what I'm talking about, you know. And welcome FKHC 2005, whom we lovingly refer to as Tim.
And good night to Matt. Was it Matanui who left us, I think? Yeah, all right.
Oh, yeah, got to go to bed. Take care, Matanui. You hung out with us longer than usual. I super appreciate you.
I got to go to bed, too, but we got 2 more articles here.
Oh, there we go. What did I say?
Amazon?
Own physical media.
This is rather horrifying.
A lot of articles about Amazon tonight. I should have grouped the Amazon articles together.
I guess so, yeah. But, well, that's because Amazon controls the world. Or, well, they control a lot. The Kindle books, isn't that right, Alexa?
It's a good thing I got my earpiece in, or my AI would be answering you.
You should ask Alexa, hey, Alexa, do I get to own my Kindle ebooks? And then suddenly your power goes off in your house.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Ask, and then it'll come on like an hour later. Ask again and see what happens. Okay.
Exactly.
The Kindle books you own are not necessarily your own. Books you download, even ones you have purchased, can be recalled or edited by Amazon or the publisher at any time. So we've known this.
Yep.
Amazon has long allowed you to download its ebooks to your computer, where they can serve as a backup or be transferred to other devices. However, that feature will end on February 26, 2025, along with the ability to transfer books from your computer to your Kindle via USB.
You have 3 days, my friends.
If you attempt to download your ebooks right now, a message says starting February 26, 2025, the download and transfer via USB option will no longer be available. You can still send Kindle books to your Wi-Fi enabled devices by selecting Deliver or Remote from Device option. After February 26, you will still be able to send or download Kindle books from the Kindle store via Wi-Fi. And you can also use the Send to Kindle page on Amazon to send a variety of files to your Kindle. Should you want to transfer your titles to your Kindle to your computer while you still can, go to Amazon.com, sign in, and click Accounts and List, Content, My Library, Books. Navigate the book you want to download and click More Actions, download, and transfer via USB. You'll get a pop-up asking you to select your Kindle. One annoying thing to note, you can't select Kindle that was purchased in 2024 as the video below outlines. You also can't do this in bulk, so if you have a huge Amazon library, the download process
should be 3 days to do it. Better call off of work, take a lot of caffeine, and
have a lot of thumb drives.
And get to it.
one at a time. I will say this. I know you've kind of chided me for my purchasing of digital movies. I purchase some digital albums off of Amazon, but it's usually when they're very cheap or they come as a freebie with an actual physical CD I bought.
Right.
So
right.
if I lose those, it's not the end of the world. I've never gone for books. I don't do ebooks. I just don't do it. So
I never do digital media that is proprietary like Kindle. If I get some sort of it's like a PDF or something that I can physically take, put somewhere offline, they can never take it away from me.
Oh,
In fact,
Geek
what's
Flag.
interesting, what?
You read what Geek
Oh
Flag
yeah, oh absolutely. F those effers. But honestly, I will say this: most of the sites that I do get, like role-playing games and stuff, where it's just a digital download. Not only do I get a digital download that I can save offline, but I get when they update the rule set or something, or there's an edit or something, they notify me and I can download the edited version as well, not for an extra charge. So like if there's some sort of errata that they need to correct something, they will put out a 1.5 edition or whatever, and I can download that for free. And I'll have another copy with the corrections to download.
My uncle's blind. He relied on his Kindle to read books to him. And yeah, a lot of people do. And I'm not even saying that's a bad option. I know that library services too, like a lot of the ebook services and libraries that you get, they have read options as well. But yeah, it's
there are free services that you can use if you have a PDF or whatever you have on screen to read, your browser or read your PDFs or whatever to you. So that's still an option.
Hail real Wade Nation gaming clips. I do have to say though, this is very disturbing though, because imagine you spent the last few years, this is your main way of reading books and purchasing them. You now no longer have control over the stuff you purchased. It's
I'm
now up
sorry.
to Amazon.
I warned everybody. If you didn't listen to me, it's your own fault.
I do have some Audible books from Amazon. I did have a few of those, but the only way to get certain books was through Audible. I got a lot of those. Like the big book of vampire stories, the big bulk of pulp. They have all those in audio form on Amazon. So I would like subscribe for a couple months, get a free credit, and download like a thing that was like 17 hours long. Of just pulp stories.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, I might be stopping that soon. But I'm sure there's always stuff. I better download that stuff to my computer too while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Of course, this is mainly the ebooks to talk about. All right,
well,
let's end on
if that's 17 hours, you better get started now because you only got 3 days.
funny man. Moving over though, we have one final story.
This is the bookend with our good old days here. Yeah. Marvel and DC are teaming up for a crossover for the first time in decades. When did I say the last one was 2004? Yes, it has been decades.
Mephisto meets with Spider and says, "I'll restore your life and you'll get Mary Jane back, but you have to kill Superman." So Spider-Man devises a way to kill Superman and he does it. And then Mephisto says, "Fooled you, I lied."
Yeah, I can't actually bring her back. Sorry.
Didn't think
you'd actually be able to kill Superman.
Peter Parker then drowns himself, and that's the end of the story.
God, that would be the kind of stories they do these days.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not joking. I'm like, okay, longtime comic book rivals Marvel and DC are finally joining hands once more. According to Bleeding Cool News, the two companies haven't done a massive crossover on the page in many years, yet that's all about to change thanks to an announcement at Comics Pro in Glendale, California, from DC Comics Editor-in-Chief Mary Javins and Marvel Comics Editor-in-Chief C.B. Cebulski. After teaming up to reprint DC versus Marvel series in a new omnibus last year, see what we were talking about? You can go pick that up. The pair decided it was time for a modern team-up, bringing the heroes and villains of both franchises together under one banner. Bruce Banner? I'm kidding. It's just better yet, the new title could be coming as soon as this year. We're really enjoying working together. Cebulski explained during a keynote speech at the annual comic book summit about the re-release collections. That was a really good project to have done, but I think there's another white whale that we got. The two went back and forth acknowledging that it's been over 20 years since the two sides united the Justice League and the Avengers before Javin's tease. I'm trying to figure out what you could possibly be talking about. The only other white whale I can think of, Sapolsky asked, another crossover, a modern crossover. Are you up for it? They appeared ready to get the project up and running soon, and as they addressed the possibility of the new comic coming out in 2025 and acknowledging that the next step is to get together some creators and some character ideas. For now, the details are scarce. Other than the crossover will span across 2 one-shots titled Marvel DC and DC Marvel. What do you think?
I'm looking forward to it.
I have an idea.
What's that?
I think like the Hulk's about to kill Batman and Alfred says, Bruce, no. And then the Hulk says, why did you say that name?
Oh, God. I can see that. I can totally see that.
Oh, he's named Bruce, too. I can't kill him. I'm sorry. I'm just...
Well, no, because as I recall, Hulk hates Banner, so he has no problem killing Bruce.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, it would be fine. It would be, and that would maybe fix things. Yeah, okay.
Hulk hates Bruce. Bruce must die. No, actually, here's another one for you. If you're really interested in the idea of Superman versus the Hulk, there is, and you'd have to do a little searching because it's in a number of places, but there's a guy who did using computer graphics. He did a fight between Superman and the Hulk, and it's the Hulk model from the Incredible Hulk. You know, the I can't remember now if it's the Eric Bana or the Norton version. And the Superman is Christopher Reeve.
Okay.
Even some of the sounds are like taken from the movies and stuff. So it's really impressive, for a fan-made project. It's pretty cool.
Iron Man versus Batman. That might be interesting.
It kind of makes sense, right? They are
rival businessmen.
They are analogous. Their superpowers, they're rich, right?
Mm-hmm. Superman versus Captain Marvel. Oh, the other Captain Marvel, not Billy Batson. Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, you know who it'd have to be Supergirl. Linda Lee versus Carol Danvers versus Linda Lee Danvers. Yeah, people don't realize how closely connected those two characters are. Very much the same way as many other DC and Marvel characters are.
I guess. I'm trying to think who else they could do, though. Solomon Grundy versus the Hulk.
That one actually makes perfect sense, yeah. In fact, I have seen some very interesting E.G.O conversions of the Hulk into Solomon Grundy, just with, like, repaints.
Yeah. But, they brought up other things in this thing. But yeah, they were bringing up the Marvel versus Capcom game collection that came out earlier this year, too, which I love the cover of that, because you had, I think Iron Man and Mega Man were shaking hands, and then it was Captain Commando and Captain America across from each other. And then it was Morgan the Succubus and Spider-Man, like she was flirting with him or something.
Oh, God.
It's just funny.
Honestly, just even a few years ago, I don't think this could have possibly happened. But I think that both comic book companies are doing so badly right now that this is probably the time that both sides would come to the table, because the whole industry is collapsing and they need to do something.
Yeah. All right. But I guess that wraps it up for the night. And we'll keep you aware of what's going on with this, because I'm going to be curious to see what the big twists are going to be.
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, and frankly, that omnibus collection, I might pick that up. What do you think? Because it has a bunch of them in there. If it's decently priced, I might pick that up, even though it's
That is the way to go. In fact, I've recently been. I'm still kind of recovering from the recent plumbing related flood.
Yes, that's always a pain when you get your collections destroyed. But
my collection wasn't destroyed. Everything that was damaged was replaced.
Oh, I see.
But I am having to go through and take things out of boxes and put them into new boxes. And as I'm doing that, I'm recataloging my comics and, doing a checklist to see what I do and don't have to fill in my gaps. And I'm realizing that my comic collection is pretty current up to 92, which is the year I got married. Then after that, there's a couple years where I got none. And then it's spotty after that. And I'm looking, I'm going, well, maybe instead of getting all the individual comics from those years, I start looking at omnibuses. That might do that. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what's neat about having the original comic books, though, is seeing the ads.
The ads are kind of cool. Some of them, yeah. And honestly, and only bookies get this, the smell of the paper.
Yeah. I like it.
It's a little different because old books have a smell, but old comic books have a smell too, and they're a little bit different. They're both pulp paper, but it's still different.
It's the ink.
It's the ink, yeah.
Yeah.
Jesse Garhardo, that absolutely needs to happen.
Green Arrow and Hawkeye. I wouldn't be surprised if that didn't actually happen in the DC versus Marvel 4-issue miniseries I was talking about.
Yeah, because I'm they're kind of the analog to each other. But yeah, I'm gonna have to look into
that. That means Black Widow versus Black Canary.
Yes. Oh, I could be around all night today. Let's see, who would the Question go up against? Not that the Question's used that much. The Question versus.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know. You could have Doctor Strange versus Dr. Fate.
Yes, and we have seen that.
Yeah. But I don't know. But yeah,
but there was. We were talking about that one miniseries that was like an amalgamation of the characters. There was actually for a while kind of extent. It wasn't a miniseries. It was like a maxi series. A number of titles that were from what was called the Amalgam Universe, and it was a joint venture of DC and Marvel that had like Super Soldier, and it was like Superman / Captain America, so yeah, and I can't remember all of them. There was one, it was Batman, Punisher, Amalgam. Gosh, I can't even remember all of them. Superboy and Spider-Man were combined. And they have very interesting amalgamations of their rogues galleries and their supporting characters, and even their origins were really, really interesting. But that was short-lived, kind of. These kinds of things can't last, because when you've got too many cooks, it spoils the broth, I guess.
Yeah, that's what they say.
But and I also recommend, guys, look into, regardless of what you thought of that What If series on Disney, some of the old What If comics from Marvel were a lot of fun. They were very much like Elseworlds in the DC. But instead of putting them in different universes and different timelines, it changes one element of their life and looks at how that would change, their storyline. So, like I said, there was the one, what if the Hulk went berserk? There was one, what if Uncle Ben had lived? And that was a little bit of a bait and switch, because in that story, it's just the difference of Aunt May dies instead of Uncle Ben.
What I would like to see is, what if Uncle Ben got bit by the spider?
There was one, what if Aunt May got bit by the spider?
That's interesting.
And that was hysterical. So I did mention that there was a bunch of stories that were really kind of sad, But the one where Aunt May gets bitten by the radioactive spider is hysterical. So what happens is, instead of Peter getting bit by the spider ends up coming down the web and landing in his book bag. And when he gets home, the spider gets out. And I think Aunt May was going to see if he had finished his lunch or something. She gets bit by the spider. So she gets all the superpowers, and she realizes, now I'm a superhero. I have to do something with this. And she goes out to fight crime. She makes an outfit, and the outfit is just the kind of outfit you would expect from Aunt May. It's like got this cap and like this domino mask and like a dress, and it's all like in the Spider-Man style, but like an old woman dress type style. And funny. She goes, "Oh, I can't let Peter know about my secret identity because he's so frail. He'll worry about me." It's just absolutely hysterical and brilliant. And you know how Spider-Man has all the quips and jokes that he does when he's fighting. She has these, "What would your mother say if she knew what you were doing?" And some of the villains are like, I and she gets, I think it was like Rhino, she breaks him down into tears. "I'm sorry. It's okay, but you gotta pay for your crimes." It's just.
Oh, that's so funny.
I'll
visit you in prison, though. Okay, I'll make you a pie.
But there was, like I said, there was a lot of dark ones. There was what if Sue Storm had died in childbirth? What if there were actually some that were just kind of interesting. What if the Fantastic Four had different powers? Gosh, I'm trying to remember. There was what if Tony Stark couldn't overcome his alcoholism?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there were some really heavy stories.
That's a dark turn.
It really was. But what if Captain America, keep in mind, you guys all know the story, Captain America gets frozen in World War II. He's brought out in whatever the modern day is when you need him for the current storyline. Well, they made that a shifting thing, and instead of him being defrosted in like the 60s or the 70s, they had him unfrozen in the 80s or 90s. And as it turns out, there was an imposter, Steve Rogers, who was actually the Red Skull for a period of time, and he's got to overcome. That's a very interesting story too. But what if Spider-Man had been a member of the Avengers? That was one too.
Okay. Which, yeah, I guess he never really officially became a member in the comics, did he?
There was a couple times where either he tried and was rejected, or they tried to recruit him and he rejected them. It never kind of really came off. What if, what was it? Wasn't it? What if Spider-Man was a member of the Fantastic Four? I think was one of them.
Yeah. I think in the comics he kind of became an honorary X-Men for a little bit, right? So I remember that.
It kind of makes sense.
That might have been the ultimate line, yeah.
Probably fits in there better than some of the other places, absolutely.
Well, I still have to watch Deadpool versus Wolverine, but I like the one line Hugh Jackman says, "You got kicked out of the X-Men, and they accept anybody, believe me." And it's like... All right, but so what you got going on this week? You got a big double feature tomorrow?
Not a double feature. I'm kind of getting away from the double features unless I have one that's like special and they really need to go together. But tomorrow night, I said, come watch a train wreck over and over again. It's the movie is Source Code. It literally is about watching a train wreck over and over again.
Fascinating.
But it's actually better. It's actually better than it sounds. If you've seen it before, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, come check it out. Either way, you might really enjoy it. That's tomorrow night at 8, 9 Eastern on my channel. Tuesday, we're getting back to Sparkwood and 21. You'll see about maybe around 7:30 Central, maybe a little later, depending on how Deleted Scenes is doing with his mystery movie night and when that ends. But I will be covering the secret history of Twin Peaks. I don't think we're going to do the whole thing, guys. Deleted and Aged, check out your note in X.
Okay.
I don't think I can squeeze a 10-hour presentation down into one.
No, well, you should break it up. It's fine.
So I might have to go to maybe 3 with your permission, Deleted, but we'll definitely get started on Tuesday, and then immediately after that, whenever that ends, will be the next episode of Blake 7 over on my channel. Thursday, we're on Netters Network for Thursday Things. Don't know what we'll be talking about, but it'll be awesome. And,
does she have a guest?
No,
not yet, but we need to.
Would you like me to be the guest? I remember I made a thing that I would come on. You could talk about meeting me in person or something. Wasn't that
all right? Absolutely. We will talk about you.
Why don't we do it 10 o'clock? Right? Yeah, I'll join.
10 your time. 9
I'll join you Thursday.
So my special guest on Thursday will be Age Boomer.
There you go.
Okay, you can put that in your notes.
And then Friday, special guest on Last Call will be Sir Torrin Clegane. And we will be talking about the soap operas we grew up with, some of our favorite memories, and kind of doing a little bit of an in memoriam for a handful that we've lost over the past year and a half or so. But that's Friday. And, of course, Saturday over on Netters Network. What is the movie? You don't remember. You got to look it up, don't you? It was something that started with an F.
This is very weird. When Deleted Scenes posts his things, the face appears too.
Firefox
on our side, but not Firefox, the
Eastwood,
the cold era Clint Eastwood jet film. Yeah, this is a good one. I've been looking forward to this. So that is Saturday, and that brings us around to next Sunday.
There will be a very important news story we'll be discussing next Sunday. Didn't have time to squeeze in this weekend. I'm just going to say that they're making a TV series out of my favorite horror movie of all time. And I will discuss that next week. We'll have to wait and see. All right.
All right. Sounds great to me. I don't know what it is, but I'll be looking forward to it.
All right. So catch you guys later. Oh, wait, I'm not going to end broadcast. You got to do the credits.
I'll take care of it. Yeah.
All right. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us.
Take care. Bye-bye.